Hello and welcome to the Talkin' Wrestling with Pondwater Dave show. Yes, I am not Justin Davis. I am Amy Vaughn, the First Lady of the Arn Anderson Fan Club, stepping into this role for our cohort Justin, who is out doing what he does best, reffing.
Best.
What he
Eh,
does best.
well, our producer's out basketball coaching, so we're
And
back. We're basketball widows tonight, Amy.
yeah, we are. And as you all know, the man, the myth, the legend took a bullet, counted Ric Flair's last match. It is the one and only Pondwater Dave.
Hello, welcome. Glad y'all are with us tonight.
We have a great show. I said it in my little video that I did today. I feel like we're going to get a little tea because we have as our guest Mark Dodd, who is part of the Primetime Wrestling. You have their podcast, correct?
Yes.
And do you announce, or did I make that up?
No, I do also. I
That's
do a
what
little bit
I
of
thought.
everything.
Exactly. And if you remember from our visual that when we put out our calendar for the month of November, we did not have Mark Dodd. We had Shawn Ambrose as coming on with us. And as I mentioned earlier today, Shawn got fired. And
In the
so
middle
now,
of the ring.
in the middle of the ring,
Yeah.
so we're hoping, Mark, that you might clue us in on a little bit of what's going on down there. First off, Rome, Georgia, if you can't tell, Arn's hometown.
That's
I
right.
mean, I feel like we're kin, kin. Because do you live in Rome? Is that where you're from?
Yes. Born and raised in Rome. That's right.
Really? Okay, we'll
Yes.
have some more stuff to talk about in a little bit.
Now I
But
will say Arn and I do not see eye to eye because I am a West Rome chieftain and he is an East Rome gladiator. So we are
oh,
bitter rivals.
I guess I
Yeah.
should have followed up on that. I didn't realize there were two teams to be cheering
There's
for in
not
Rome.
anymore. Back in our day, there was,
Oh,
but
back in your
now
day.
it's one school, Rome High Wolves, who do pretty well on their own. But yeah, back in that day, it was two separate schools. So
Interesting. Did you? Okay, now I'm like off the. Now I'm like going like, did you go to school with Arn by chance? Are you? I'm not
no,
trying to say. Are you younger? You look younger than Arn.
I'm a little bit younger than Arn. I have a brother 10 years older, and Arn was right between us.
Oh,
So
okay. We'll talk more about that. Okay,
yeah.
that's not why you're here. So I
Well,
need to stop. I'm sorry, Dave.
we're new into year two, and this is the first time that we had a guest get fired.
Yes,
And
exactly.
he said under advice of legal counsel, he could not come on and talk about it.
Not
We were,
yet. No.
yeah, and we were like, oh, but we're very grateful that
And if
Primetime Wrestling, didn't just leave us hanging, and they did provide you, who we were told, like you said, knew a little bit of everything and could tell us, could do a great job because you do host their podcast. You are an
Yes.
announcer. What else do you do behind the scenes?
Let's see. I have done ring announcing. I do the announcing when we record the shows for YouTube. I do promos and do interviews, and I do work behind the scenes as well. So I literally do a little bit of everything. So,
How did you
um,
get involved in that?
it was really funny. I can't say who, but I have a Facebook page that it's not mine. I didn't start it, but I'm an admin on it. And it's Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Oh,
And it's got some dates on it. It's like, I forget the dates, 19 something to 1984, something
mm-hmm.
like that. And it exploded. We've got, thousands of members on it, and the community is really great. And I contribute quite a bit to it. And I was literally just talking one day, posted something and chatting about wrestling, and a former wrestler. We have quite a few former wrestlers on the Facebook page, and this one commented on something that I did, and we got to talking. And next thing you know, he was inviting me to lunch, and now I'm part of Primetime Wrestling. So
Is it? I don't know if you could tell. Is it this one? It has Georgia.
no, stay away from that one.
Oh,
That
okay.
one's got a bunch of spams.
Oh,
It's I'll send you an invite to it.
Yeah,
yes. 'Cause I
let
me
me
just
too.
went.
Because I
I'm
love
sorry.
that.
Yeah, and it's Georgia Championship Wrestling, and it's got parentheses 1944 to 1984. And the
Wow.
Georgia Championship Wrestling picture is the really old school one that's
Oh,
in black
okay.
and white. So
Okay. Yes, please do.
yeah.
I've got it 1981 and 82 on DVD.
Oh, really?
Yes,
That's awesome.
and
Yeah, I used
one
to
of
go
my
to the
favorites.
matches. They used to have them in Rome, Georgia, every Thursday night, starting in the mid '70s. And so I was there every Thursday night. My dad would take me when I was little, and just fell in love with wrestling at that point. With all the greats from back then, and it was a lot of fun.
So, did you want to be a wrestler?
Maybe in an alternative world, you dream of stuff like that, just the same as NBA or NFL,
Uh huh.
that just didn't ever go that way. I'm not really back then. I probably wasn't big enough,
Uh huh.
um, but knowing what you know now, that doesn't really matter.
Right.
Maybe, but probably not. I had a good sports career and went my way, and I was a tennis pro for a long time and taught tennis in Rome
Really?
and around the area. Yes. So that was my passion, and that's where I met my wife, and so I wouldn't trade that for anything. So I've had a pretty good life with it. And then once that ran its course, got into some other stuff, and that led me to primetime wrestling. So it's been pretty fun. A lot of great stories.
I want to sidebar real quick because you mentioned that you were teaching tennis, and I
hmm
noted, and your Twitter handle is pickleball
Pickleball
pickleball gamer
gamer, yes.
pickleball gamer. You know how sometimes things take off and you don't have any clue about them, and then they've been around, and you don't want to be the guy that asks because what is pickleball? Because it looks. I mean, I've seen the court. Is it? It looks
Yeah,
like it's about the same size court as badminton.
and it's funny. You don't want to be that guy that asks, but honestly, and my wife can tell you, I get phone calls, I'll get texts, I'll get messages on Facebook or on Twitter or anything from people I've never even met that will be asking me about pickleball, and they find my name through someone else, usually through tennis. But pickleball is basically a miniature version of tennis. It's a combination of basically tennis, badminton, racquetball, and the easiest way to explain it, if you're familiar with ping pong,
Hmm.
it is like playing ping pong except you're actually standing on the table, and it's a world of fun. It is when you compare it to tennis. Tennis is such a physical game and really hard to learn and master. Pickleball, we could go out, if you've never seen it, never heard of it, we could go out and I could actually have you playing games in 10 to 15 minutes. It takes very little to actually start playing. It is much tougher to become really good at it and a master of it, let's say. But it is what really attracts everybody is, number one, you get playing really quick and it's easy to start playing, but then it is so social. You will go out, if you're going out to play, like with tennis or most other sports, you go out, you get one or two or three people, four people, you go play. Pickleball, you're liable to have 30 people out there playing at the same time,
The
and they're
same game?
rotating. Well, not in the same game, but they're
Like,
all there at
woo!
the courts. And one
Oh.
game can last 10, 15, 20 minutes tops,
Uh huh.
and you'll rotate off the court, and other people will rotate on, and you can play with different people constantly. But all these people are on the sideline waiting to take their turn. Well, you're socializing. And so coming out of COVID, where everybody was away from everybody, all the courts were locked down. In my opinion, that's part of the reason pickleball has exploded,
Hmm.
and it's because it's such a social game, and
Right.
people are just attracted to it because you're around other people. And for the most part, you of course, with anything you do, you find some people you don't get along with, but for the most part, it is everybody's super nice and inviting, and have a great time. So
Well, they
So
built they converted part of the park in Vicksburg
mhm.
to pickleball courts, and it's like 6 courts in a really tight area. And
Yeah.
so I noted, and it had to be something if the city of Vicksburg actually jumped on it, because
Yeah,
we're
they
Mississippi, we're 50 years behind everybody.
you're
Uh,
number
and yes,
50 and everything.
and
But in Rome is known as a tennis town along with other sports. And I saw Al saying, yes, you could be a tennis pickleball star. You never know. But Rome had I managed the city courts, and we had 16 courts that were built back in 1991, and then we built a new tennis facility that had 60 courts. Well, they took the downtown facility, the original one, and took 8 of those courts away, and we now have 22 pickleball courts outside. And so it's exploding in Rome. It's exploding everywhere. There's indoor facilities in Macon, Georgia. They have an old mall that has basically it's shut down. There was no stores in it. Been empty for years. The city bought it. They moved their city offices into the mall, and
Hmm.
then they put pickleball courts throughout the mall. And so they were the first big mall to basically turn into an indoor pickleball facility, and they're hosting their first tournament sometime next month, I believe,
oh wow,
That's so
and having a
crazy.
grand opening. Yeah, and there's other states that are taking other cities that are taking that cue from Macon that are turning malls, because we all know retail is struggling so bad in the
Hmm.
brick and mortar, especially the malls. Amazon and everything online is hurt retail so much, and so a lot of these malls are closing, and so there's other places that are converting empty malls now that they can't do anything with. They're converting
Wow.
them into indoor pickleball courts,
So
and so
was
yeah, it's crazy.
pickleball just invented, or is that something that's been around and it's just, like you said, exploded because of COVID?
Well, it's been around, and it's been around since '65, I believe. That's when it was
wow.
Really?
invented. In Washington State, a family invented it, basically something for their grandkids to entertain them,
Hmm.
and it's evolved from back then. I actually played it the first time I ever played it. I was in middle school, and I was lucky enough to have a PE teacher who was a coach, and so like every week he would introduce a just random sport to us.
Sure.
And pickleball was one of those things where the family had created a pickleball set that they picked up, like Walmart or somebody would sell it in a
Uh-huh.
sporting goods section. And so he would go and buy all these different sports, then would introduce the classes to it, and we'd have to do a test at the end of the week and stuff. But that was the first time I got introduced to pickleball, and then hadn't seen nothing of it for years, 20 years.
Hmm.
And I was interviewing for a job at a club. And as I was there looking at the facility and everything for tennis, I hear pop, pop, pop. And I'm like, what in the world is that? And I go around the building and look, and there's about 30 people out there playing pickleball on 3 courts. So
Uh-huh.
only 12 could be out there at a time. Everybody standing around talking, having a good time. I went and just joined in, and they had no idea who I was. They were just like, "Here, won't you come play? Come on, here's your paddle. Let's go play." And that's how I got exposed to it again and fell in love with it. It's a lot of fun.
All I heard is it's been around since '65. So, and I've been around since '66. So there's still time for me to explode.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The Dave, you got nothing to worry about. The oldest player I've ever been on a court with, and ever, the oldest one I've been on a court with was 91, and the oldest player I've ever seen playing was like 97.
Might have
So
to check it out.
yeah, it's a
Yes.
lot of fun.
Well,
But yeah, it was actually growing in the late 80s and 90s, growing some.
mhm.
But in the around 2010 is when it really started. It was really growing a lot through the teen years in the senior communities. And then when COVID hit, that's when it's exploded into not just seniors, but now in kids. We have a lot of kids out playing. There's kids programs all over the country. In fact, Drury University, a good friend of mine, Jared Smith, is the tennis coach there. He is now the pickleball coach, and they are offering pickleball scholarships for the first
Oh,
time.
great.
So the first university doing that, and there'll be many more following suit with that. It is amazing the rise of it. There's professional levels, amateur levels. There's team leagues now. It's crazy how much it's grown in the last few years.
Who would have known? on the Pondwater Dave show. We be talking pickleball.
Oh, on a wrestling podcast, and we're
On a
talking pickleball. How crazy!
That's all right.
and
In the chat over here, my good friend Brandon told me to go put my damn jersey on. It's hockey night in Texas.
There you
oh
go.
So
Lord,
all I
There
can
you
tell him
go.
is go Stars. But it's wrestling tonight, so I'm sporting my new Dusty Rhodes T-shirt.
Oh,
I
nice.
like it.
Now, would y'all not agree? Now is probably the best time ever in history to be a wrestling fan. I
Oh
mean, there's
Lord,
so much
yes.
out there and such a variety. It's unreal.
I do agree, but I also know that how great a time it was being a wrestling fan in the early '80s.
Oh yeah,
That's
absolutely.
true. When you
But
Right.
didn't know, I
but
think
Hmm.
this
you
is
had kayfabe.
Yeah.
this is a great time to be a wrestling fan. I mean, it's on everywhere. It's
Hmm.
quality wrestling, and I tell everybody. I mean, our battle cry on this show is support independent wrestling.
Yeah. Right.
The stars of yesterday are there. The stars of tomorrow are there. They're all
Hmm.
stars, and you know, I'll tell people that the people that you're seeing now are just like the people you see on TV that just hadn't had the opportunity yet.
Hmm.
Absolutely, I
And in some
agree, and
cases, they're better.
yeah, for sure. And we really follow that also. At Primetime Wrestling, we don't want to just be completely about us. We
Hmm.
want to be about wrestling for the whole world. We want everybody to succeed. Don't just come see us and turn everybody else off. We want everybody to succeed. Come see us. Come see everybody else. And we'll work with other promotions too. We would love to work with other promotions, and we've done that. And we've got a lot of talk right now going on of possibly working with some other promotions in other states as well.
Ooh.
So those are possibly in 2024, but some big surprises might be coming. Never know. But we want to. We've got a long term plan, and we're starting as just a small company in Rome, but we want to be a mixture of that old school territories.
Hmm.
We don't want to be like some independents are, where they're just in one location and that's the only place they ever do a show. We're going to other towns. Yeah, we got a home base in Rome, and we're going to do a lot of our shows there, but we're going to go to other towns and other states, just like the old Georgia Championship Wrestling did.
Right.
And we want to get out there and do that and have a quality show that we can put on YouTube and possibly, never know, maybe go TV at some point.
Oh.
But we'll see. We've got a long term plan for it though, and we got some right people in the right spots for
Is
that.
that
So we're
is
all on the
that
same page.
is
I
that
work for a
why? Oh,
promotion. I'm sorry, Amy. I
no.
work for a
Go ahead.
promotion now, though. Legacy Championship Wrestling that has
Hmm.
joined the King of Sport Alliance,
Oh, nice.
and they're kind of trying to work the territories system and one champion that'll travel. And I mean, they're actually doing a co-promotion in Monticello, Arkansas.
Mm.
Nice.
So I mean, it's just a group that are trying to form like the territory days.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And we joined with AIWF, the Allied Independent Wrestling Federation.
Mhm.
So we joined with them recently, and they are like, I don't know, they've been going since '92, I want to say,
Mhm.
something like that. And they're in what I read today. I went back and looked, and it's 103 promotions that are involved, and they're in like 63 countries, I believe.
Whoa. Okay.
And so we've recently joined in with them, and so hopefully down the road they'll bring some good things to us, and we'll be able to provide some good quality content for everybody. Some great
Interesting.
matches. Hmm.
So, what I was going to ask is, you were talking about these long-term goals and all that good stuff.
Hmm.
Shawn not part of
Well,
that?
Shawn, the night Shawn got fired, I really didn't know what was happening, but
Mhm.
I invited him out to the ring, and so I felt
Oh.
kind of bad. But then again, Shawn and I have been butting heads for a few months now, and y'all probably don't know
Oh.
this, but I interviewed Shawn on my podcast, and Shawn had his own podcast also.
Oh, I did
And
not
Shawn's
know that.
always been very controversial. Any promotion he's been working at has been pretty controversial.
Mhm.
He's gotten in the ring, gotten involved physically with things, and with Prime Time from the start, I've questioned some of his responses to things. Let's say And so I had the opportunity to interview him, and he actually walked out on me. He could not handle the questions I was asking him.
Oh,
And basically, we've got some guys in our promotion that think they can run roughshod over people and just basically do whatever they want. Well, we've had some guys fighting back. Well, then all of a sudden, Shawn put fines on the guys fighting back when all they were doing were doing the same thing that had been done to them.
Right.
And he put fines on them. And I asked Shawn some tough questions, and he didn't like it. Well, then next thing you know, he started fighting with some fans on Facebook. And he kind of started something with another promotion. Basically, it's with fans. And he got talking about another promotion. We do have another promotion in town, and I have no issue with them at all. As far as I know, no one else at Primetime does either.
he
We
did.
have some,
Yeah,
he
we
did.
did.
We have some
We did
wrestlers
see
that
that.
cross over, and yeah, but he said some stuff I did not agree with, and I thought he shouldn't have said, and the ownership, I guess, didn't like it, and he also the video. I think the video might have come out today. It's either coming out today.
It is. I
might be
watched
on.
it.
Okay,
I watched it
Yeah.
just a little while, just a few minutes ago. You brought Brian E. Thomas to the ring.
Yeah.
Actually, Scott Hudson. Yes, that's Scott Hudson from
yes,
WCW showed up and came to the ring and told him he was going to have no spoiler alert. Told him he was going to have a meeting face to face with the owner.
yeah, and I know Brian. I actually brought Brian into Primetime. He's one of my best friends. We've been friends for years, and I guarantee he was not intended to fire Shawn when he was coming to the ring. He basically was just going to come in, and I fully believe just come in and say, hey, stop this stuff. Let's just get everything straight. And as you can see on the video, Shawn starts talking as if he's the boss and telling Brian, here's how it's going to be, and you can't make it without me, basically is what he was saying. And knowing Brian the way I do, he don't like taking that stuff. He's quiet, but he's very tough, and he just was like, nope, not with that kind of attitude, and you're fired. And it was quick, simple, straight to the point. And the way Shawn was talking, I can't really blame him. Things that were going on, questions I had asked, and things I had discovered that had to be questioned, and Shawn didn't want to answer them. It kind of led up to all this, and I think there's probably going to be more coming out down the road. And so who knows what the future will hold for Mr. Shawn Ambrose. No longer the most controversial manager or general manager in Georgia. But, maybe we've seen the last of him. Maybe we haven't. I just don't know at this point. But, yeah, it was a wild night.
Yeah.
And that was the start of our Veterans Day show. I mean, it was a huge night, and it was only the beginning. And it was just like, what in the world just happened? And then they everybody left. Scott, I was like, Scott Hudson, you going to talk more? And he was like, nope. And he leaves the ring. And I'm standing there going, well, let's get ready for our first match, ladies and gentlemen. Here's our ring announcer. So let's get going. But, yeah, it was wild. I mean, we had a great show lined up, and then that happened to kind of start it all off. And I think everybody, the crowd, everybody in the back was just kind of shocked at what happened. So it's going to be interesting moving forward. I know we're ready to. For us, and I can speak for the talent. I can speak for Brian and say, okay, no worries. We shrug it off and keep going. Scott Hudson's going to step in as general manager for right now. We'll see if that's going to be long term. He's also been announced as our first official inductee this year, or for 2024. We're going to have our Hall of Fame show coming up in January. Yes, there you go. January 13th. And Scott Hudson was announced as the first inductee for this show. And then we announced a new one yesterday. So we're going to be inducting a referee.
I'm for it.
Into it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we try to do that every year also. Pee Wee Anderson's already in there, and a couple others. And
is Arn Anderson in this Hall of Fame? Because he needs to be.
Not yet, but yeah, I think he will be coming soon. I don't Don't have any doubt about that.
I will be more than
Um,
happy to help induct him. I'm just throwing that
well,
out there
we
too.
can see about setting you up for it.
Well, on behalf of the Pondwater Dave Show, referee Chris Spanky Vic,
Yes.
congratulations, my fellow zebra.
Yay!
Yes,
That's
Chris has
awesome.
been a longtime referee in the Northwest Georgia area and throughout North Georgia and Georgia itself, and so it's well deserved for him. Absolutely.
Good deal. Goodness
But
gracious. I think we could talk for hours with Mark. I mean, first we learned he, was watching Georgia Championship Wrestling and is like basically an admin on Facebook page. Then he's a tennis pro. We have barely even scratched the surface of primetime wrestling and what and all that he does with that. What did you think when you're in the ring? Like, who was the match that had to come in after Shawn Ambrose got fired and it was Veterans Day and I mean, was it just like get out there, kid, and show them,
yeah,
show
well,
'em you
let me
know?
tell you who that match was, because you talk about other places can talk about their talent and how good they are, but wait till you hear who we had. So we had from the Nightmare Factory, Muhammad Omar. New kid on the scene. Dude is built. He is
Uh-huh.
ripped. He looks the part. And so he's come to Primetime Wrestling. This was his first match. And who does he have to go up against? 6'12", a quarter of a metric ton, AEW dark match, Big Ben Bishop, Big Trouble Ben Bishop. This dude's huge. And he comes in and they have a whale of a match and go at it. And Big Ben Bishop did come away with the win, but they didn't care. It was two powerhouses who were ready to throw down. So they didn't care what happened. They and that's kind of the attitude of the talent that we have.
Yeah.
They don't care who the referee is. They don't care who the announcer is. They all have one thing in goal in mind, and that's their set to win their match, move up the rankings. They want to have a shot at the primetime heavyweight champion, Mr. Atlanta 2, who is the big shot in our promotion at this point because he is the first and only heavyweight champion we've had up to this moment.
Really?
And so everybody is looking at that. And so Ben Bishop and Muhammad both came in there with one goal, win that match and move up the ladder.
Heck
And
yeah.
Bishop came over got the win in it, and he was not phased. I don't even know if either one of them knew what happened. They were so focused because I had saw them both before I went out, and they wouldn't even talk to me. They were just pacing and like they would have just walked through a wall at that point. And they're two big guys.
Yeah. Well, like you said, if you've got that kind of idea, like you said, if you've got that vision, if you want to be a champion, and like you said,
Mm-hmm.
you can't worry about squabbles in the ring. That doesn't really
Yeah.
include you. I mean, because they don't work for Shawn. They're there for prime time. So I'm sure that was probably is again, I don't wrestle, so I mean, why would I think I would be like, "Oh my god, what's happening?" Probably why I don't wrestle, I guess. Besides not being athletic and some other stuff. But of course they're not worried about it because I think differently, I guess. So
Unless
doesn't
Sean
matter.
ran the pay window, they're not worried about it.
That's true. That's yes, exactly.
Right.
Pondwater knows. He's out
They're
Right.
there
worried
prepping
about
all the time.
they're worried about the pay window and winning championships. And speaking of winning championships, it's time to talk about big time belts. Big time belts. If you need a championship belt, go to facebook.com to the Big Time Belts group, and we can get you fixed up with leather and zinc, and you can throw it over your shoulder and feel like a total badass. If you're a promotion and you want to send your champion to the ring looking very professional instead of a toy with stickers on it, see Big Time Belts. Big Time Belts is providing belts all over the country, heavily to the state of Mississippi, up into the Carolinas. The Pennsylvania Grand Champion came to Big Time Belts. The AWA Tag Team Champions came to Big Time Belts. Gulf Coast, Big Time Belts. Big Time Belts has High quality, low prices. EPW's women's divisions represented. They just can take care of you. How would you like to win that on your fantasy football league? I'd actually hire help so I could win my league to have that belt. Your granddaughter's sports team, an incentive. When they hit a home run, they throw that belt over their shoulder. If you're a hockey fan, you can get your favorite team. I wouldn't be caught with a Vegas Golden Knights belt, but it's whatever works for you. But the Mississippi Seawolves are represented.
Oh, cool.
Big Time Belts, Facebook.com. And we want to thank them for sponsoring our show.
That's awesome.
I like that last belt. That was new. Gulf Coast, or the one that was blue.
Gulf Coast Wrestling.
That's pretty cool. I like that little
are
design.
doing something with the minor league hockey team.
Oh,
That's nice.
Like that. I do like that.
Yeah, I like it a lot too.
Gonna add it to your collection?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
But I am gonna get a Dallas Stars belt.
Oh, no.
Dallas Stars belt.
See the shock
Yes.
on
I
my
bet that would be
face.
awesome.
Yeah, I saw one on the broadcast the other night. A fan had one, and I looked like, I can do better than that.
Well, Mark, getting back to a little bit about prime time, just how long has it been around? First off, I've driven past Rome, Georgia, I guess, but you're saying there's 2 promotions in Rome?
There is. I'm not going to say the other one's name
no,
just
I don't
because of
blame
the
you.
controversy going on that
Yes.
Shawn started
Yes.
that got him in trouble. So, but there is 2. They basically do their show at one location and don't travel around.
I gotcha.
And we started our show. We've been going for less than a year now.
Oh,
And
okay.
we started, our first show was in Center, Alabama, which Center has a history of wrestling dating back into the 80s and 70s and is a great wrestling town. And so we want to give them a chance to get back, in the mix.
Sure.
But we always had planned on Rome being our home base. And so we've done Center, we've done Cave Spring, and Rome now. And we're looking at going, possibly Gadsden, Carrollton, Georgia, Cartersville, possibly up to Chattanooga, the old stomping grounds of Georgia Championship Wrestling, basically.
Oh,
But again, we have that plan. We're not trying to rush and do everything at once.
Right.
We want to start slow and build it. We know we've got the talent. We know we're going to be okay with that, but we didn't want to overload everything and jump into places that weren't ready for us and we weren't ready for them.
Sure.
So we want to build the name up, do it the right way. We've got some very smart people in the wrestling business, in behind the scenes, dating back to Georgia Championship Wrestling. Experience with WCW, experience with TNA, Impact Wrestling. We've got some very experienced veteran guys, not just in talent, but also behind the scenes that people will never see, but they're helping out. A lot of experience there. And so we know we're going to do it the right way. And we've got some great young talent that is very exciting, athletic, and and they're all trying to work their way up to have a shot at that PTW championship with Mr. Atlanta 2, who's the big monster known as the Fulton County Frankenstein, holding that belt right now. And he is a big man.
I'm sitting here looking at your background. You're talking all this wrestling, but all I see is Marvel behind me. And the Mandalorian? What is going on
Mandalorian. Yeah, I love Star Wars. I've kind of got this little setup right now. I'm actually at my office desk also because I work from home. So we're actually about to start transferring into another room, and we'll have a little bit better studio type setup to do more of the podcast and some live streams and things. And so right now I just got, hey, this is what I got. I don't care. But yeah, I'm a big Marvel fan. I grew up with comic books, and I was there on opening night of Star Wars back in '77.
Were you dressed up, or did you?
No.
Did you know to dress up? You didn't.
No, nobody knew what it was back then. They were just like, "Oh, hey, it's a cool movie that's coming out." A funny story is my grandmother did not believe we landed on the moon until she saw Star Wars. Once she saw Star Wars, she thought it was a government hoax. And then once she saw Star Wars, and she was like, if they can make a movie like that, then they can land on the moon. And so after that, she believed we landed on the moon. So it's like,
What did you
okay,
call her, grandma or meemaw? We hear that a lot. What'd you call her, grandma?
grandma. Yeah, it
Grandma?
was grandma.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just wondered. We have one fan. It's his meemaw. He watched wrestling with, so
yeah.
I wanted to ask. So,
Speaking of fans, let's say
oh
hi
yes,
to him
yes,
tonight. They're riding with us over in the chat. We got Willie
Yep.
Buck. Hey Willie, T Weaves here. Matt Presley showed up. Thank you, Matt. Brandon's Brandon Perkins wants to know who your favorite Marvel character is. Mark.
Mine?
Uh-huh.
Oh my goodness. Well, I've got 3 pictures of Captain America behind me, so he's probably right up there. I would say along with Thor, but I will say my favorite of all is Spider-Man because that was the first comic book I ever read.
really.
Hmm.
So you tell us more about your podcast. Now, granted, I'm sorry I threw some shade on the background that you have there. I was just saying.
Well,
Uh,
I was gonna get around to it. Don't think I didn't scope it out. He's got the little Star Wars deal. He's
yeah.
because I'm a comic book nerd from way back.
Oh yeah. I can go into any of it. We can talk comic books, and I can go back as far as you want on it. I actually got to meet Stan Lee once, so
Oh,
when I
how'd
was a
you do
little
that?
kid. So that was,
Oh,
yeah, it was. My parents were purchasing a franchise of a comic book toy store, and so I just got
really?
lucky enough to meet him. And I was a little kid, so I had no idea. I knew who he was just because he was in the comic books,
Right,
but
right.
not knowing the magnitude of it then, I would love to, as an adult, sit down and talk to him and pick his brain and stuff. But yeah, as far as my podcast goes, it's basically we talk about wrestling. We talk about prime time. We'll have some guests on. We talk about the shows. We'll do a preview of a show. We'll do a review of a show, and then we'll have guests on. I'm going to be expanding it next year. Actually, going to have a Twitch channel where I'll be showing the actual events themselves, the whole show,
Oh,
dating back to our first one. So I'll
cool.
at some point I'll be putting that on Twitch and talking about those and doing other interviews. I'll be expanding the interviews out to wrestlers. We did an interview with Buff Bagwell. He was at our Veterans Day show, so that was fun. But I've talked with some other guys, some old school guys about coming on, and who knows, maybe we'll work into having some of the newer guys and that are coming up, and we'll just see where it goes. Something I just have fun with.
Yeah. Oh, well, awesome. Do you,
That's what we do.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what we do.
that's what
That's
we all do. We have a great time with it and just let it ride.
what, are you on certain nights or what's your schedule? I guess I'll
Not
start
right
out.
now, because we just tape it. We haven't done anything live yet, so we
Mhm.
tape it. Brian and I will get together and tape a show, and the schedule's been hit and miss, and it's kind of go along now. After the first year, we're going to be shifting. We've been doing one show a month,
Mhm.
and we're going to be shifting, and at some point in 24, I think in either February or March, we're going to be doing 2 shows a month. And so
Oh,
we're going to be expanding primetime itself into more shows. And so as we do that, then we'll start nailing down with the podcast and doing things on certain nights and really starting to get everything now. It's a lot of stuff we've been doing has been trial and error,
sure.
and we just build it slowly and grow it and see the fan reaction, see what they want,
Mhm.
and then we try to give the fans what they want.
I was gonna say, Mark, you should see some of our first shows. Woo, we have grown. Have we not, Pondwater? We
Yeah,
have grown.
we've come a long way.
We have come a long way.
Y'all got such a great show. It's so much fun. I
Thank you.
watched the one with Tim Storm. I got to
Yes.
watch it live, and that was great. He
Isn't
was
that
a
like
great interview.
he's a school
Yeah,
teacher? Like, what in the world? You're a school
and
teacher? Like,
he's
I
That's
such a
can't
good
help
crazy.
that.
guy. You can't help but
Yeah,
love Tim Storm.
But
yeah, absolutely.
but just like you said though, Pondwater, like you could tell, like he has a dad look. Like your dad is all wonderful, but then man, if he's mad, like he gives you that look. I bet Tim he could do that. He could turn on you like that. Like
I've s-
you know
I've
what I
told
mean?
y'all I've been in the ring with Tim, and Tim shot me a look one time, and those eyes,
Yeah.
And I mean, when Tim, I mean, he's a nice guy, but he can flip that switch.
That
He's a
yeah.
big guy too.
He is.
Could
Hmm.
you imagine him being your high school teacher? I mean, could you imagine you're a goofy, freshman, and and he walks into your class. Oh my God!
There's
I
always
know
one
that's
asshole.
hilarious.
There's always one asshole kid that wants to try to coach though. Try
Oh, of
coach. So
course.
I
We had
wouldn't try,
that.
but I wouldn't try Tim Storm.
We had that when I was in school. We had because I remember during football practice, look over there and there's a football player and a coach rolling around on the ground going at it. So there, yeah, you always get them.
So I love your shirt. I love that
Thank you.
primetime wrestling. I love that. So do you have a merch store? And do you want to give it out?
We don't yet. That is
Oh,
one of the
okay.
things we're working on, and we will have in 2024. We have been doing shirts like this at the events.
Oh, okay.
So we are going to be doing a merch store that will be online as we are doing more with the podcast and doing more live streams and things. We've just kind of, again, it's one of those things. Let's figure out what we can do. And usually at our events, we have the wrestlers will have their own merch table set up and having shirts, and then we usually have one with primetime stuff
Sure.
also. And we throw them out to the crowd too. So we usually throw out a few shirts to start the show to thank everybody for coming. So
Oh, that's awesome. That's kind of
yeah.
nice.
Hmm. Yeah, and so, but we will be setting up a merch store online at some point. We just haven't done it yet.
Well, but when y'all do, be sure to tag us in it, and we'll
Oh yeah.
pass that information along for you.
Oh, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And while you're waiting on Primetime to come out with their own merch, don't forget that you can get merch from Talking Wrestling with Pondwater Dave by going to jumpinthepond.com. That'll take you to our merch store.
Where we have a great shirt called Pucker
Did you
Up.
say a shart?
Shirt.
You said
Shirt.
shart.
Shirt.
4223. That's going to be the clip this week. You said shart.
It's Shark Week,
And
not
you
Shark
sharted.
Week. Shark Week.
I work with juveniles. I said shirt. A
You said
shirt.
shart.
Shirt.
SHART. Shart.
Throw the red flag. We gotta see the replay.
So what? I said it.
T-Weave said you said shart.
Okay, if I did, obviously I'm not talking about a shirt. I'm talking about a shirt.
Well,
You're ornery. He just
I am.
picks stuff. That's so odd. Okay, now listen here, Terry. Now you need to stop. So he's over here making fun of me being from Kentucky, and that's how they say it. He is from Alabama, so you are the
Shart means
last
something completely
person.
different down here.
I know what it means.
Shart
Oh,
Shart Happens will be a new shirt at jumpinthepond.com.
gosh, Lord, no.
Oh goodness.
Now, Amy, you're in Kentucky. You say you're
Yes,
from Kentucky, and are you
yes,
still in Kentucky?
yes, I am.
Okay, I got a buddy of mine that has a Kentucky Facebook page. I'll have to put you in touch with.
Yes, please
Because
do. I love
he
that.
has a lot of stuff on the Facebook page too. He had joined us first on the Georgia one, and then started his own for Kentucky. So he shares a lot of Kentucky memories, and same as what we do on ours.
Oh,
So
I love
it's a lot of fun. So
I love that. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at Andrew's comment.
hashtag.
Oh
Look, he can't
goodness.
say
That's too
nothing
funny.
because he's just like, oh.
Hey Mark, let's circle back around to Georgia.
Yeah.
You said you grew up going to the matches. Who are your favorites?
Well, growing up, and when you were my age, it was Tommy Rich, Brad Armstrong. And I think what drew me to them was just because they were the young guys,
Mhm.
and being young myself, on TV you had Ole Anderson calling them kid, kid this, kid that. Well, I was a kid, and so I associated with them because they were called kids,
Right.
and so they were my top two favorites. But man, you had Ole Anderson, who I got to see in Rome a lot. I got to meet Andre the Giant, and he shook my hand, and his hand took up my whole arm. He was so big.
How old
Um,
were you when you met Andre?
God,
Just
probably, how old was I? Probably 8 or 9.
Oh,
I
so you
believe.
were little. I
Yes,
can
I
only
was little.
imagine.
Yeah, and I remember him. I remember the match and everything. He took on the Masked Superstar, and
Uh-huh.
before the match, they had the challenge of breaking the Cobra hold, and Superstar had to stand on the second rope to try and put this Cobra hold on him.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
but Superstar was my favorite heel.
Mhm.
But I'm gonna tell you who scared me the most of any wrestler was Mr. Wrestling #2. As a kid, he scared me the most, and the reason was they had a table set up in Rome in the gym, and you walk up to him, you get an autograph and everything, but he had the mask on,
Uh-huh.
and he had the eyes, and his eyes were just scary, and it was hilarious looking back on it. But I still remember that. I remember that moment, everything about it, because it just stood out, and his eyes were just so scary for kids. And I wasn't the only one. There was other kids that were scared of him too. But that I remember that it was awesome.
I can
And
see that because in Mid South, when he started to turn on Magnum,
mm-hmm.
and he was kind of beating him up a little bit before the actual turn, it was like he wasn't a chicken hill. He was.
Yeah.
He was. I mean, when he was intimidating.
Yes.
And he wasn't backing down. And I mean, it was. So I get that about wrestling too. For me, it was the scary wrestler. My first scary wrestler was Kabuki.
Oh yeah, I could see that. I never got to see Kabuki in person, but I could definitely see that for sure.
I saw
Dave,
Kabuki my first night going to the matches.
Dave is a big WCCW fan. In case you were not aware, Mark.
Me too.
I grew up
Me
in
too.
Dallas, so I spent the
Oh,
'80s going to the sportatorium.
I'm jealous. I was huge Von Erichs and watched WCW every chance I got, and yeah, I still love it to this day. Absolutely, Kerry was my favorite by far, not even close to anybody else. And one of my favorite songs is still his intro music. So, yeah.
Well, you need to make sure that you listen to our episode we had with James Beard. He's in the movie that's coming out, Iron Claw, and
Oh, okay.
he was telling us all kinds of behind the scenes kind of things, and he was helping. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say he was helping, but um, he did help coach the
Mm-hmm.
actors about how the the real Von Erichs would have acted, right? I'm not lying, right,
No,
Pondwater?
no,
That's what he
James
said,
helped
right?
out back. He helped
Okay,
out.
I was making sure. But like he wouldn't have done that. He would have done it this way. He wouldn't have had to be, So you kind of get a little bit of an authenticity from people that were there. So yes, and we have David Manning coming up next month, so you'll definitely want
Oh,
to
that'd
tune
be
in on
awesome.
that.
And
Um,
and
I'm just
next week we have Cassidy Riley, and Cassidy Riley is one of the hot shots, and Cassidy Riley's in the Iron Claw movie.
Yeah.
All through December we're going to try to. It's going to be Iron Claw. It's going to be Iron Claw December on our show.
And basically, I'm just going to sit here like this because Dave's not going to let me say anything, especially when Dave Manning's on, and
Well,
that's fine. That's fine.
David Manning is my referee hero. I mean, when I was a kid, I knew, like you, I knew I was too small to be a wrestler, but David Manning was small and he was standing up to him.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And so I wanted to be David Manning. So
see, I'm practicing. Yeah.
I started out wanting to be like David Manning, and I'm ending up moving like Bronco Lubitsch.
No, hey, Dave, you took a hell of a shot from Angel. So I mean, you move in the ring. You move in the ring.
Brandon Perkins says, Dave, my father was a Mesquite police officer for 28 years, and they had him and several officers ringside for Abdullah and Bruiser Brody for WCCW. Yep.
Abdullah was my second scariest wrestler that I saw in person.
I think Brandon's talking about their battle at the Mesquite Rodeo.
Probably.
Abdullah was intimidating. Hey, Kamala. Yeah. Kamala was very intimidating when he came on the scene.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was
Abdullah
huge.
Has all those. I mean, that thing, that in his eyes, like he is. Abdullah's definitely. I knew he would try to bite me, like.
Yeah, and Abdullah, and so much like when Bruiser would do his heel side, Abdullah was just so vicious. You didn't know what to expect.
Right.
I mean, he just, whatever he could grab, he'd pull something out of his trunks, whatever he could get his hands on, he would use to hit people, stab them, whatever. And you as a kid, you see this giant guy who is actually really fast come running around a ring, and everybody's just scattering. So they're just getting out of his way. He was so scary.
I can imagine. Yeah,
But I'm
I've
trying to
seen
remember. I think I saw him wrestle in Rome against, I want to say maybe it was Dick Slater. I think is who he had a match with that night. Dick Slater was my dad's favorite wrestler. And
really. Who
but I
was
think
the
that's who.
baby face in that?
It didn't matter. My dad loved Dick Slater, whether he was good or bad. That was his favorite. I don't know why, but it was.
I mean, he was a good wrestler. That's funny though to see them two going against each other. What? Who? Like I
Well,
said,
Slater
who would have been?
was the favorite then,
Uh huh.
because he had come back and
Oh,
had
okay.
tag team with Tommy Rich as a surprise mystery partner in the Omni or something at that time. And Abdullah was supposed to team with Rich, and he got bought off by Superstar or somebody, if I
Gotcha.
remember right. And so it was a big angle, and they just had a match, in Rome at that time. Probably just on the tour of the towns. Probably did the same match 10 times. Who knows?
Yeah, that's true. Dave, do you want to tell him about your Yellow Rose of Texas behind you? Someone said that earlier.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's an awesome picture.
Well, there's those in the middle of the state. There are some trunks, and those are the trunks that David Von Erich wore from Christmas of '82 to Labor Day of '83.
Oh wow,
I,
I love David. He was so good.
David was my favorite Von Erich.
Yeah, yeah, and he would have been mine too if he had lived longer. His run in Florida as a heel is still amazing.
Oh, I loved watching those tapes.
Me too.
But when he brought Kerry in to help him, I'll just say that Kerry Von Erich is probably the worst heel.
Yes, yes,
Horrible heel.
yes. I can't agree more.
You can find it. You can probably find it on YouTube. Fritz Von Erich was the president of the NWA. David was going to be wrestling, and Fritz showed up with Kerry and Kevin, and they didn't want David getting screwed, and it was a whole. But Kerry, he had a roach clip, one of those feather roach clips in his hair, and he tried to cut a heel promo, and it was just horrible. I mean, he was a natural babyface.
Yeah. Well, and he wasn't great at promos anyway.
No,
especially heel ones. It's just so much out of character for him. I think he just couldn't get a grasp of it.
he tried, but bless his heart.
Yeah. But David was so natural. Anything, he could just do it so naturally. He was amazing.
Very.
And I hate it that so many fans never got a chance to see him growing up, getting older. Because I honestly believe he would have been a world champion for NWA for many years. And I think if David had lived, we might have seen WCW being in the position of WCW being the rival of WWF during that time, if David had continued to live. But you never know.
Well,
never know.
Skandar Akbar told me if he'd lived, they'd all still been working.
Yeah, I believe it.
And I often wonder if David had lived, if they would have worked with Vince. Vince had a lot of respect for the Von Erichs. I mean, when David died, they gave him a 10-bell salute on WWF programming.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean, that was unheard of at the time.
Well, and everybody talks about, and Vince was very vicious in the business, but he did a lot for other promotions also to keep them going even.
Yeah.
So if he liked you, then, I think, there's a good chance that he would have worked with them and not would have rated their company like he did others. But you never know. Never know.
Well, and like you said, David was so young, obviously, when he passed away. And he was so good, he probably, just like you said, the sky's the limit. Yes, I do think, as much as Pondwater has talked, and I do believe he would have been a world champion. He should have been the world champion, to beat Ric Flair. And then, of course, he passed. And so that kind of got skewed. What life would have been like, what things would have been like if he would have, lived.
Right.
Matt Presley wants to know, so since your show's name is Prime Time, if you could only pick one to do a show with, would it be Bobby or Gorilla?
I would pick Bobby the Brain Heenan every time. That guy was an absolutely amazing, whether it was behind the mic, in the ring, or whatever. He could wrestle. He could talk. He was amazing. He is absolutely one of the best in the history of the wrestling business.
I wish WWE would come out with a Bobby the Brain Heenan box set, or just do a 2-hour feature on him, but go back into, because I believe they own AWA footage now.
Well, they own Georgia Championship Wrestling too. They have all those VHS
go
tapes.
back and show Bobby Heenan. Go back and show Bobby Heenan with Nick Bockwinkel.
Yes.
I mean, Bobby the Brain Heenan was, I always say that Buddy Roberts probably the hardest working Freebird. Yep. And Bobby Heenan was that way. Bobby Heenan made the baby faces look so good because he would bump for them.
Yep.
And it was just, he'd wrestle. He would tag team, but he would manage, and it was just his old AWA stuff is really, really good.
I don't know if you go ahead, Amy. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, and he did wrestle. I mean, obviously not for as long as he managed, but he did wrestle. And so again, but you're right. I think sometimes I get
his in-ring contributions are overlooked.
Yes, definitely.
Well, before he was in AWA, he was in Georgia. He was a manager and wrestler in Georgia, and was the main manager, villain manager, and ran the stable and had all the titles, and he was amazing back then in the 70s, and would get in the ring. I think when he left Georgia for the AWA, I think he lost a loser leave town match, and for that, and that's how he got ran out of town, if I remember right.
Interesting.
Well, you mentioned Tommy Rich being one of your favorites. How did you find out that Tommy Rich had won the NWA title, and had he lost the NWA title back before you found out that he won it?
Same as everybody else on TBS. Yeah, I mean they he won, but he also lost, and just same as everybody else. And I saw him wrestle Harley Race for the title in Rome. I saw him wrestle Ric Flair for the title in the Omni, and he was so close many times, and it was nice that he won it for that short time. Unfortunately, it was just that short time, but at least he can say he won it. So,
oh yeah,
only a handful. There's not that many that can say that.
And when he won it, it was a big deal.
Heck yeah.
It was a big deal. What about when you turned on Georgia Championship Wrestling and the World Wrestling Federation was on there?
I had some nice words. I was like, "What the blank is this?" Because I knew what World Wrestling Federation was, but like everybody in the South, it was not the NWA, and it was just like, "What? Why is Vince McMahon on my television set right now? This is supposed to be Gordon Soley, but instead I got Freddie Miller, who I love Freddie, and but then he introduces Vince McMahon, and we see all this other." I don't want to say garbage wrestling, but it was not the wrestling I was used to, and the storylines I was used to, and what I enjoyed. And it wasn't the wrestlers that I was, had been invested in for so long. So it was wild.
But it was still enhancement matches. It was still enhancement matches, and it hadn't graduated into the silly yet.
Right.
I mean, but I was like you. I'm like, what the? Because I bought my first VCR to record Georgia Championship Wrestling, and I got home to push play, and what in the world is going on here? Yeah, that may be Vince's first footstep into being my wrestling villain. He's always the villain. Vince McMahon is the villain of my wrestling story.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, and there was a different style of wrestling between the two companies, and you could break it up by North and South. But it really came down to the storylines. I mean, NWA and Georgia especially, they were more about long-term stories, and WWE was more about, okay, here's this match, and here's a character, and let's just throw the two characters together and have a match. I mean, and then once their big event was over, okay, let's throw two more characters together. There was a very different storylines. And then once WrestleMania came about, and then that all changed for Vince. But up to that time, it was, it was just different, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I wanted my wrestling back.
It
I
was,
understand that.
and at that time, just getting wrestling. I mean, I enjoyed watching. I did watch their program on USA. When they took over Southwest Championship Wrestling's time slot.
Hmm.
But I enjoyed Southwest. I enjoyed the WWF
Yeah,
syndicated shows, and you know Joe Pedicino doing This Week in Wrestling, where we got to see all over the country, and
I love that.
accidentally stumbling upon Battle of the Belts from Florida.
Hmm.
Yes.
Anytime that you could catch wrestling that you didn't normally get. And then when we got cable, of course, I got the Superstation. But I had a friend that lived in Mesquite, which was a town over from Dallas, that got cable before me. And I figured out if I could head to his house, you know, I on a Saturday, I could catch some wrestling that I only knew about from the wrestling magazines.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that was the thing. The magazines were so great back then because you didn't have the internet that you find out something so quick.
Right.
And so you get a magazine and it's 6 weeks behind or more, 6 months behind even.
Oh, I went
And
to the arena. I went to the arena to see Kevin Von Erich against Ric Flair, and got there to find out that Harley Race had won the title back. So it was Kevin Von Erich versus Harley Race,
yep.
and I was disappointed.
Uh-huh.
In hindsight, but I loved it, and I mean, going back now, I came to appreciate Harley, but Rick was the
Hmm.
Rick's the one that hooked me, and then we showed up for the Great American Bash one year, and didn't know until we got to the arena that Dusty Rhodes was the champion instead of the challenger.
Right.
So I mean, those were the days when you didn't know
Well,
And
here's a good one
instantly.
since
yeah.
you're talking about WWF and NWA and Flair and all this. So July 4th, 1984, I was at the Omni for NWA World Champion Ric Flair title versus WWF champion Bob Backlund. I got to see that match in person. There's no video of, just a few
Referee
pictures.
Scrappy McGowan.
Yep, Scrappy. And
I've got a picture. I've got a picture on my wall of that of Scrappy holding up both titles. And,
awesome.
And my copy is
I love.
autographed by Bob Backlund.
Oh, I was gonna say
Nice.
I love how Mark was at the Omni and you were at the Sportatorium. I mean,
For
like
me, it was the Sportatorium and Reunion Arena.
yeah,
Hmm.
the fact that you all got to be there, I think that is another thing we kind of talked briefly about. It is a great time to be a wrestling fan, but I do think some of the nostalgic pieces, like not knowing who's on the card or who's the champion because it's happening. You don't have this instantaneous. You had to know friends. You had to look up things on. You tape traded, or you had to get a magazine. Wait till the magazine came out or whatever. Some of that is exciting. The fact that you all got to go to some of the um, historic wrestling buildings. I don't really know if
Hmm.
we have that
Well,
anymore.
and we
The
believe.
Cow Palace, and like some of those buildings, we don't have that now. Do you think?
Right.
Mark
I mean,
Mark
we don't.
100% believed that Buzz Sawyer wanted to kill Tommy Rich, and that Tommy Rich was fighting for his life.
Right.
Absolutely.
You
Or that
know,
if Abdullah
Absolutely.
got a hold, he would eat you too. Like he was,
Firmly believed. Why in the world is Abdullah out in public? He should be in jail. He should be in an institution somewhere.
yeah.
exactly.
What in the world's going on? Why do they let this madman run around and try to kill people?
Hmm.
But yeah, back then you believed everything that was going on. Ted DiBiase being pile driven on the floor by the Freebirds. You had people
Exactly.
calling every hospital trying to find out how Ted DiBiase was.
Calling the
It.
cops, or like turning.
Mhm.
Yes.
I watched a clip last week of a Texas death match because they'd had a Texas death match on the last AEW pay-per-view.
It's not
And it was
Texas
a,
death match. We've
it
already had
wasn't
that.
a,
It wasn't a Texas death match.
I mean, it was a Texas death match, but it wasn't a Texas death match. It was a death match.
It was
I mean,
generic. Yeah.
it was hardcore, anything goes. And I'm not crapping on it. There's a couple spots in it that took me out, but I digress. What I'm saying is I hosted on Ad Free Shows. I was hosting the Top Guy. We get together, Top Guys, once a week, and I said, hey, let me throw this Texas Death Match from the 80s on for you. And it was Terry Funk and Dusty Rhodes. And when Dory jumped in and interfered, you saw the police fighting the crowd off to keep them from getting in the ring.
Yep.
I mean, it was a riot.
Yep.
I mean, you saw the actual police department restraining people trying to break through to get in to help Dusty.
Ole almost died because someone stabbed him. No, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and if Peggy Latham wouldn't have been there, he would have died.
I mean, like you're right about that. I mean, how many times have we heard stories about, they had to head out straight to the back, don't park, they came out with their tires slashed, or the bad guys, because like you said, it wasn't because the people were like, oh, I want to get involved in this. Like they truly thought they were evil. They thought that but the other thing, going back to what you were saying, Mark, when Ted DiBiase got pile drive, he didn't show up. You didn't see a video or a TikTok of him,
Yep.
Resting at his house, swimming, or, being on the beach.
Hey, Amy, let me interrupt you for just
Oh,
a
I'm
second.
Sorry.
We have the PTW heavyweight champions in the chat.
What? My God, look how big he is from his picture. He's got his arm around someone's throat.
And that's the most you'll get him to say. What he types, you will never hear him say a word. You can't get a word out of him, but he speaks volumes in the ring.
Well, we thank him for joining us. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him.
The champ is here.
The champ is here.
What?
He won the tournament and walked away with the belt, and he has been our first and only champion up to this date. And
how big are you, Atlanta number 2?
Mr. Atlanta 2 is about 6'3", 6'4", and about 300 pounds, and just solid rock.
I better say, he looks every bit of that. Like I said, his little Facebook page picture, he's got someone in a chokehold.
Now, let me give you some background also. He has the number 2 next to his name, so which means there is a Mr. Atlanta who is now his manager.
Oh,
and he is one of the most devious and evil people I have ever met. And he is always at ringside of Mr. Atlanta 2. And he is a evil genius. Let's just say that.
Oh.
And he had a major feud with Mr. Wrestling number 2 throughout Georgia in the 90s. That was very brutal. And he claims to have been responsible for putting Mr. Wrestling 2 into retirement.
Well.
Yep.
More devious than Shawn?
Oh, without a doubt. Really? Shawn probably learned from him. And that's kind of the problem that I have with Shawn and asking the questions that I have. Because Shawn, I think, has gotten a little cozy with Mr. Atlanta and with Outlaw Todd Zane as well.
Oh.
Who are 2 very devious people. And Shawn throws fines around to Big Andy and to Randy Tucker, but he hasn't fined Mr. Atlanta or Todd Zane at all for doing a lot worse. So I had to ask those questions, and Shawn didn't like it.
I didn't like it at all.
No.
You know what I was just thinking, Dave? Did you see that Mr. Atlanta number 2, his finisher is a powerbomb? So, what about after you take the cannonball from Vladimir for 300 subscribers? How about at 350? Let's do 400.
No.
Take a power bomb by Mr. Atlanta 2. How about we get Justin to do it since he's not
Yes.
here? Okay, Justin will take a power
Justin
bomb.
will, yes.
How about this? We'll let Justin do the power bomb. Dave, Mr. Atlanta 2 won the title in the finals of the tournament with the Cobra Clutch. So let's see if you could escape the Cobra Clutch.
No, I can tap quickly.
400
I'm a lover, not a fighter, Mark.
Think about it, though. 400.
And that was, hey, I'll say this. The finals of our tournament was very controversial. It was Mr. Atlanta 2 won it by referee stoppage. Mr. Atlanta 2 was facing Zero, who is extremely popular in North Georgia. And they had a great match, but Zero got trapped in the Cobra Clutch, and the referee stopped the match. So Zero didn't give up, but I don't know if he was able to give up at that point.
Right.
So the referee stopped it. So it was very controversial.
Yeah, when yeah, well, sometimes when you see that they're in a spot they're not going to get out of, and if they can't, you start asking questions, and if they can't respond, you got to call it.
Why? He can't. I mean, so is he going to get a rematch, or is Mister Atlanta number two? He's not giving him a rematch, is he?
Well, he doesn't want to. Of course, Mr. Atlanta is guarding his protege
Yes.
and doesn't want to. Zero had a chance in a ladder match against Chris Kamikaze to become number one contender and guaranteed a title match.
Oh.
And Zero was about to win that contract. He had climbed the ladder, about to grab the contract, and Adam Jacobs comes out of the crowd out of nowhere and pushed the ladder over, and which allowed Kamikaze to win and gain the title shot, which he lost. He did lose that title shot, but Zero's trying to work his way back up, and he's had a tough time of it. And Zero is actually trained by Rock and Roll Express member Robert Gibson. So,
Really? Well, now
yes.
I can't say nothing about
To go to
Adam
the House of
Jacob.
Morton. How he went and
I don't
Chinky?
know. I'm sure he did some stuff with Morton, but I just know he was trained by Gibson, and he talks to him after every match.
Really?
Hmm.
I
Well,
need to address the chat real quick.
oh
I'm
yes,
not getting hit in the head with a guitar. I'm not getting hit with it, and I'm gonna give you two reasons.
stink face.
One,
Why do you have a bunch of balloons? You did it. That's the one he's going to do. Yay. That was
what was the
hilarious.
balloons?
I don't know. It's like it
I,
was your
let me
birthday.
try that again. Reason number one, for two
Oh Lord.
reasons.
Let me try. No.
I don't know what triggered the balloons.
See, we're back. Well, we don't have our producer. Lord only knows. Are we taping? Let's make sure we're recording. Yes, we are.
Yeah,
Okay.
we are. But anyway, reason number one is that because Jeff Jarrett likes me, and reason number two is it cost $500,000 to put this face back together. We will not be smashing guitars on it.
I mean, you took a bullet and lived. I don't know what, I mean, what's a guitar going to do?
Mess
Seriously.
up. I've had a little work.
Yeah.
My vanity knows no bounds.
You've had you've had bags of chips fall on you, boxes. What I mean again, I don't understand. What's the
Amy,
problem?
there's a difference between potato chips and a guitar. A
Oh,
potato chip falling does not do a lot of damage,
I guess that's
but a
true.
240-pound wrestler swinging a guitar like he's trying to hit a home run does do it.
But just imagine if we had 500 subscribers, how wonderful that you would do that for 500, wouldn't you?
I'm going to take Angel Camacho's finisher for 500. Are
Oh,
you familiar with Angel Camacho, Mark? The
I do know who that is. Yes.
The Puerto Rican juggernaut, 460 pounds, former BIW heavyweight champion.
smacked him. Smacked the hell out of him.
He did.
Out of Dave.
How big is he?
Me?
No, how big is
Oh, Angel Camacho's 460 pounds, probably 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
My goodness.
And Dave,
Um,
like, I
He's the
mean,
juggernaut, bitch.
we could have taken some fingerprints off of Dave's chest and matched them to Angel of the markings that he
Yeah, I
left
wish
on
we'd ate that potato chip now.
I must say, I do want to say something real quick. I can't say nothing about Adam Jacobs because I really like him. I actually got to manage one of his matches one time.
mhm.
So I'm sorry, Zero. You probably shouldn't have, Adam probably had a good reason why he did that. So, no.
Adam Jacobs is a interesting character, let's say that. But he is chosen to be a member of Bad Company along with David Young and Todd Zane.
Uh
And
huh.
David Young is a TNA original,
Mm hmm.
and all they do is cause mischief and problems.
I was about
And
to
they
ask you
also
if it
have
was
the
the same
Butcher
one.
Bobby Hayes backing them up, who is one of the vicious, most vicious guys around that's been doing it for 20 something years too. So,
I mean,
um,
we were a heel team, so maybe,
but Adam Jacobs is one of the best athletes I've ever seen in wrestling. So, um, if he had been there during WCW days, he probably would have been cruiserweight champion without a doubt.
I could see that.
Hmm.
Definitely. Definitely.
Well,
I'm,
Mark,
oh, go
we do
ahead.
a thing. we do a thing here on the podcast, and every week we Amy brings trivia.
Oh
would you
no.
like to stay with us and
Let's
see
do
how
it.
you play along? All right.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Sounds fun.
All righty. Well, do you have graphics or are we just going to jump into it?
I don't have your graphic.
Okay. So listen carefully. I'm going to read. So, as you all know, this past Saturday was the Survivor Series for the WWFE, you know.
Oh,
Uh,
I got that.
oh, okay.
I thought you were talking about your little.
Oh, no. So we are going to do Survivor Series 90 style. So all these questions come from Survivor Series matches in the 1990s. As you can tell, the 93 Survivor Series, the All Americans, which was made up of Lex Luger, the Steiner brothers, and The Undertaker, defeated the Foreign Fanatics. Who were the Foreign Fanatics? Was it A, Crush, Quebecer Jacques, Yokozuna, or Ludwig Borga? Was it Haku, Quebecer Jacques and Pierre, and Yokozuna? Was it Crush, the Orient Express, Yokozuna, or Haku and the Orient Express and Yokozuna? Out of these groups, who were the foreign fanatics? Dave, who do you think?
I know I want to say it's A because I don't think both Quebecers were in it.
Mark, what you thinking?
My first thought was the Ludwig Borga was one of them, along with the Yokozuna. I couldn't remember for sure the other two. So I'm thinking it's A also. But I really want to say D because I love the Orient Express back then. But I really think it was Ludwig Borga was part of it. They were pushing him so much at that time.
Wasn't Ludwig Borga in the AWA as one of the Russians? They changed his name. I could
like a Khrushchev or a
no.
Koloff or
I'm
a
trying to think who he was. He had a big head too.
Oh no, I know who you're talking about. But no, it's a different guy.
Okay.
I know who you're talking about though. The guy you're talking about actually started as a partner of Sergeant Slaughter in Mid Atlantic.
Yes,
And
that's who.
yes, and then went to AWA and became a Russian.
is it Boris Zukov?
Yes,
Yes.
Boris Zukov.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is correct. It is A. It was Crush, Quebecer Jacques, Yokozuna, and Ludwig Borga.
Not everybody's correct. Terry Weaver's wrong. He put B.
Oh,
Terry.
boo. Come on now.
All right.
All right, next
Moving
one.
right along.
Which Survivor Series was the first to not take place on Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving Eve? You have 1993, 1995, 1997, or 1999. Which one did not take place on Thanksgiving or Thanksgiving Eve?
That's a tough one.
It is because
And I'm not going to Google it.
I'm going to say 90. I'm going to say 93 because I thought they'd abandoned Thanksgiving by the 90s.
What you thinking, Mark?
I want to say party like it's 1999, but I know that's not right. Since he said A, I'll go with B, 95.
It was B, 1995. That was the first time.
I knew it the whole time.
It
Yeah,
was
you
on,
and Brandon Perkins killed it on that one.
but you know what? I can remember I loved it being on Thanksgiving. Like that was like
Mm-hmm.
we would eat and you would go watch that. Like,
Oh, we went to the wrestling matches on Thanksgiving.
well,
That
Yep.
night, I was at Reunion Arena. That was what we did on Christmas Day and on Thanksgiving. That was something to do.
well,
Well,
and if we were
Georgia
anywhere
Championship
close,
Wrestling, we had a tag team tournament every Thanksgiving in the Omni.
really well, and if I was close to anything, but for me, it was just my aunt. My aunt and uncle had that big old satellite, and you would. I mean, sometimes we'd have to watch it, in between the, the waves of the television. But anyway, that was. Those are great memories. Like I said, I love some 80s, 90s. I love some 80s wrestling. Alrighty. Well, next question. Which Survivor Series was the first to not have any traditional Survivor Series elimination matches on the card? Was it 96, 97, 98, or 99? Which what year was the first to not have any traditional Survivor Series elimination matches?
I'm guessing 97 because then we're starting to get into the Attitude Era because these are so hard for me because the Survivor Series is my least favorite
Uh-huh.
of the big four.
Out of the big four, yes, I could see that. What you
I'm gonna
think,
go
Mark?
with I'm gonna go with C 98 for the only reason is I picked A first, B second, and I'm going with C third.
And the group, I think the group chat,
Oh, they are.
T Weave, Brandon, Matt, and David Anderson, they're all piling on to C.
They would be correct, but I'd love to know, do they know why there was no traditional Survivor Series eliminations matches on that
Because they
card?
suck.
No, no, they don't. It's done right. Anybody in the chat know why we did not have any elimination matches? I don't know if they're typing or not.
Because the Attitude Era, nobody was getting along. You couldn't find five guys that got along to be on a team.
No, they actually had a title tournament. Very good, Andrew. There was a title tournament that went on that night. The WWF. Now I gotta look and see. The title was vacant, and they had a tournament for it. So that's the reason why they had no. Now I gotta look that up because I meant to write this down, but I did not. I'm sorry. Uh,
And the Rock won. Rock won the tournament.
Yes, but that's what happened. Is that there was? Did the Rock win? Yes, Stone Cold's on the. Anyway, yeah, that's right. So sorry. I am. I'm not professional. Um, at what Survivor Series do we see the Undertaker defeat Yokozuna in a casket match? Oh,
Those two.
being mean to each other in the chat. 94, 95, 96, or 97? Okay. Thank you, Andrew.
I'm going to say 94.
Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it was earlier in the 90s, so I'll say 95.
It was 94. And Andrew, throughout that little nugget, Chuck Norris was the referee on the outside, to keep everything safe. But you're right. It was 1994. And I will say this, 94, for all you little children in the chat, was the year I graduated high school.
Nice.
Somebody was like, I was 6. No, shut up. No.
Is this real or is Andrew out here making up shit?
No, that was true.
No.
He was the special guest enforcer on the outside of the ring.
Oh,
yep, I remember that.
Mm-hmm. All right, next one was Aaron making up stuff. Brandon was 4 in 94. Okay. Of the 4 traditional Survivor Series elimination team winners on the card of Survivor Series 1991, which team had all of their members survive elimination? So, was it Ric Flair, the Mountie, Ted DiBiase, and the Warlord? Sergeant Slaughter, Jim Duggan, the Texas Tornado, Tito Santana, the Nasty Boys, and the Beverly Brothers, or Big Boss Man and the Legion of Doom? So all these teams won their match, but which team had all of their members survive elimination in 1991?
I'm going to say the Big Boss Man and Legion of Doom.
Mark, what are you thinking?
Now, was Paul Ellering part of that match since it's only...
No, that was a 3-on-3.
3-on-3? Okay.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why it was just 3-on-3, but yes, the Paul Ellering was. I'm trying to even think. Was he? I don't remember even seeing him out there. Honestly, on the 91.
Yeah, I don't remember this one at all of these, but I'll go with A.
What who'd you say, Pondwater?
I said D. Big Boss Man, Legion of Doom.
It was actually the team of Sergeant Slaughter, Jim Duggan, Texas Tornado, and Tito Santana.
Oh wow.
And I'm pretty sure Tito was the Matador,
Well, how
if
many
I remember
Survivor
correctly.
Series was Kerry Von Erich in? I guess two.
I think he was in 2. He was in this one,
Because the
and then
one
he
he
was
was with
with
the Ultimate Warrior and the Road Warriors.
yeah, that
Yeah.
was the one I was thinking of that nobody was eliminated when they won, but I didn't remember the other one.
Oh,
Need to find
Ellering
that
and
out.
Botch.
I'd be interested to know if Kerry Von Erich was never eliminated in a Survivor Series match.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
don't know. We'll have to look that up. All righty. Last. I don't know if this is the last question or not.
It
Yes.
is the last question.
Of the 4 traditional Survivor Series elimination match on the card of Survivor Series 1996, which match had no survivors? Okay.
Ooh.
Was it Aldo Montoya, Bart Gunn, Bob Holly, Jesse James versus Billy Gunn, Bradshaw, Salvatore Sincere, and the Sultan? I don't even remember him. Salvatore Sincere. Was it Doug Furness, Henry and Phineas Godwin, Phil LaFond versus the British Bulldog, Leif Cassidy, Marty Jannetty, and Owen Hart? Was it Jake Roberts, Mark Marrow, Rocky Maivia, the Stalker versus Crush, Goldust, Jerry Lawler, and Triple H? Or was it Fake Diesel, Fake Razor, Farouk and Vader versus Flash Funk, Jimmy Snuka, Savio Vega, and Yokozuna? What kind of pairings? No kidding, Allison. These names are bringing me back. Like these are some names from the past.
Well, Furnace and LaFon should have been together, and the Godwins together. So I'm
What
just
do you
grading.
mean?
Well,
What?
I mean, you got Doug Furnace, Henry and Phineas, and then Phil LaFon. Furnace and LaFon were a tag team.
Oh, they're still on the same team.
I'm just giving you a hard time. Busting balls over here.
I know. I have no balls to bust, sir.
I'm gonna say, man, I'm gonna say that D.
Fake Diesel, Fake Razor, Farouk, and Vader. What kind of
Because
team was that?
well,
Like,
I'm
that's
gonna
a
say that
crazy team.
I'm just guessing. My logic is that Vader and Yokozuna was double disqualification.
Mm. Mark?
This is a tough one. Um, can't say C because Triple H would never be eliminated. Um, not by any of them. Well, Rocky's in that, but if he had Maivia back there, he's young. I'm going to say,
There's a lot of greatness in C. Think about that. You
yeah,
got Jake Roberts, Barry Windham, Jerry
Was it?
yeah,
Lawler.
Was this Rocky Maivia's first survival? Was this his first? Like
Probably
possibly.
because he didn't stay
introduction?
Rocky very long.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think this was his first pay per view.
I'm going D would be my first answer, but I'm not going to pick that since Dave said it. I'm going to say I'm going to go with A.
It
I
was.
have no reason why.
It was D. They just got into a big brawl. Everybody got counted out. Maybe
can
they
see
ran out
that.
of time. I don't really know.
I can see that. I mean, I'm looking and thinking Vader and Yoko.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like I said, I just think Fake Diesel, Fake Razor, Farouk, and Vader. Like what a team.
Well,
Amy, do
all
you know
those
who all?
guys are big time brawlers. Every one of them, even Flash Funk could
Yeah.
brawl with people.
Do you know who Aldo
Yeah, that's
Montoya
true.
was? Amy?
Just incredible.
Yep. The Portuguese man of war.
Yep.
Yep. Bless his little heart. Brandon, do not distract him. We almost done.
The greatness of Rupe Hintz. Go Stars. I
And
appreciate
that would be trivia for Survivor Series.
Nice.
1990s. I pick just whatever I feel like doing. So
No, that was awesome.
I like
Those are some tough questions too.
They
yes,
were.
they are. I definitely try to stump as much as I can. A lot
I
of times
wouldn't
I'll ask who am I? Give them clues on who a person is. That one's fun too.
unless we had people coming over to the house. I just wasn't paying for the Survivor Series back then. It's my
Yeah,
least. I just never really liked the Survivor Series.
right.
Yeah.
Well, I think again, going back to the early 80s when they were doing the 5-on-5, fight to survive, you didn't see, at least, we didn't see some of these matches because we were watching syndication or like a lot of that might have been going on house shows or you're seeing clips, you're reading stuff in the magazine, but that was a great way to see just like the again, Farouk and Vader, they're all teaming up, or to see people, teaming up and being on the same team. You know, when Hogan was it Hogan? When Hogan won the belt, they show backstage where Andre is like pouring champagne on them and everybody's cheering. Like, we don't get anything like that anymore. And you have to think, I love seeing friends and congratulating each other and, just some of that backstage stuff. So I always like, you know, the 5-on-5. Like, I don't like it now where they say, "Oh, it's November, so we have to start hating people so we can do Survivor Series at the end of the month," kind of thing, or Raw versus SmackDown. I never did like that, but anywho,
Well, let's
so
talk about Survivor Series real quick. Did you watch Survivor Series, Mark?
I watched some of it. I did not watch all of it. People show it on TikTok,
Yeah.
and because I wasn't going to pay for it, but I watched enough of it. I watched the War Games match and saw what happened afterwards.
Mark, are
And
you saying you don't have the cock?
I do not,
Oh my gosh,
not at this time.
$10, all you gotta pay.
I know, but I got a bunch of other stuff right now, so I've been
Well,
holding off.
I can understand that.
I'm gonna tell you, I've kind of enjoyed. I mean, I enjoyed most of the Survivor Series, and I thought it was good.
Hmm.
And this is not this is not casting dispersions on whether CM Punk should be back or not. He shouldn't have been back at the Survivor Series after the match.
Yeah.
I feel like Randy Orton, you've rained on Randy Orton's parade. They're another chapter of Cody's story is he's getting to be in his daddy's match.
Hmm.
Charlotte got her first War Games, so because Cody and Charlotte's daddies were in them. There were so many stories you were telling, and yeah, we know he's from Chicago. It's overplayed.
Yeah.
We didn't need him to come out and still. Now you could, and if they would have stayed with it, and you got to see everybody at ringside losing their mind, and Seth Rollins, what we ended up seeing on social media, and you were setting that up, then maybe. But I think the move was if you wanted to debut him at the Survivor Series, then you should have had him as a surprise entrant.
Well, you heard the story of how he signed, right? On when it happened.
Yeah.
Actually signed and agreed. It was that day, that afternoon. And I don't think, I think they, I think Triple H made the decision to do it at the end of the show. Number one, they didn't want to do it at the beginning, which I think would have been better, but that would have been what AEW did. And they didn't want to do something AEW did. But also, you couldn't hold it off to another night because it wouldn't have been in Chicago. And as much as I'm not putting CM Punk down at all, he's been amazing throughout his career. But to get that real loud pop, you have to do his walking out in Chicago. You have to. He's just not going to get the same reaction anywhere else now. And that's a guess. That's just my opinion. But, to do it then, I didn't agree with it either. Even do it in the middle of the show as a surprise interview or something if he's not going to wrestle. But I felt it took away from the match. But I wasn't a big fan of the match. So
I'd have made him come out of an egg just to see if his heart was in it.
Gobbledygooker.
I've been like,
That's
all right,
right.
y'all get off his ass because he just came out of an egg. The man's committed.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Mhm.
But no, I mean, we could debate all day whether he should be there or not. And apparently, I mean, he's super over with the crowd.
Yeah.
I personally don't get it. I just don't.
Hmm.
But that's just me. I'm not saying that he's not a good performer. I'm just
No.
saying I don't get it. Uh, I
Well,
didn't.
talking about Kerry Von Erich wasn't a good heel.
Right.
My opinion, I've never enjoyed CM Punk as a face. I've
Mhm.
always liked him as a heel when he's had a group behind him.
Mhm.
That's been my favorite CM Punk runs. As a face, I don't see it. I don't get it. He's not believable. You can't put him in. I mean, Seth Rollins is the only guy he can wrestle right now, in my opinion, and have a really, really good match. You can't put him in with Roman. I mean, size difference and athleticism. I mean, you just can't.
Mhm.
And so I
Well,
don't
and
know.
Seth is the one that, gave him the finger and was
Mm-hmm.
apparently, and I mean, I think that's
It'd be a
probably
good
a really
matchup.
good matchup,
Yeah.
definitely.
And but I'm gonna. You're talking about somebody that you don't see as a face. I need Cody to be a heel. Cody
Oh,
as a baby face does not work for me.
Yeah.
really?
I'm, and I think the built-in story is there. He dresses up like Homelander.
Mhm.
He's not a good guy underneath.
Yeah.
Right.
I need him to lose at WrestleMania and snap and become the evil. I mean, because he already looks like a Bond villain.
But yeah.
See, I do not think that at all. I think he's leaned way too much into Dusty and, that I couldn't I don't want to not cheer him.
Hmm.
I want him to be a good guy. I
I
mean,
need him to be a bad guy for me to cheer him.
mm,
I don't know. I kind of agree with Amy as far as fans go. I think because of the Dusty element, there's he's not believable now as a heel completely. Not to everybody.
right.
Not the way they would want him to be. Now, to do it, there's a way to do it. I mean, but he's going to have to eliminate somebody that's just beloved at Royal Rumble
But the
to
crowd
win
will
the
go
thing.
with him. He'll be a cool heel.
Well, but I
Yeah.
The
think
crowd will go with him. Look at the crowd did
That's
not
what I
want.
think may happen, but he's got to do something dastardly
They
to kind
initially
of
did it with
win.
Roman.
Yeah.
well, and but going back on that, who is going to be your baby face? I
Right.
mean, he is kind of the face of the company now that John Cena is doing other things.
Hmm.
I really think Cody has stepped in to take that visual good guy
Right.
that John Cena was. So, like,
Well,
who would do it if Cody didn't
right.
do
And
the
that's
good
the
guy
thing. And
part?
Cody's full time. He's
Yeah.
there every week. Randy's not going to be there every week. Cena being back part time, I mean, he's gone again. He's never going to come back full time.
Right.
And you've got to have a face that the fans beloved. And anytime he mentions his dad's name, Dusty, and starts talking about him, then that tugs at the emotional strings, the heartstrings of all the fans. And
Yeah. He's taking
we'll see how
pictures
long it
and
can last, though. He was when AEW started, he was beloved, and it just didn't last for whatever reason. And it'll be interesting because Cody's always been one, like many others, that go back and forth, and
mhm.
he'll have a run this way, and then he'll have to change course. Right now, he's at the peak of being a face that he's ever been.
Now, when you
Mhm.
say face of the company, are you talking about somebody that they've trot out there to the media and goes and makes the appearances and the talk shows and represents the company? Or are you talking about just the on-screen?
No, I think someone that they put their trust in to be a good ambassador to the fans, to TV, to uh yeah, television, whatever he might need to go out and do,
Well,
you
I'm saying
know.
Charlotte Flair when she was a heel was still representing the company out there. She was front and center everywhere, even as a heel.
But she's not now, right?
Oh no,
I'm just saying if you look, they did not use Charlotte Flair in place of John Cena. Like I really think that they are looking at what Cody Rhodes is doing as a replacement for what John Cena was doing. As I'm not saying that Becky and I mean, Becky, Charlotte, any of them could, is not a good ambassador. I just really think that they're looking at potential Cody as kind of stepping in and being more of a face in the media and fans. He comes down the ring high fiving, signing stuff. He's out there all. Again, not saying Charlotte doesn't. I'm just saying I just feel like I see Cody doing that and wanting to do that now. And maybe that's just the phase he's in, like you said. He's going to be a fan favorite. He gets the belt, or he doesn't get the belt and snaps, and then starts doing all kinds of, heinous things. We'll just have to go on that journey with him. I don't know. Be interesting.
Well, and right now he's by far he's the face of Raw along with Seth Rollins,
Hmm.
1A
That's
and one
true.
B. That I mean they are the two top guys of Raw, and Randy walking right back is right there with them. But Randy's again just not going to be full time. He can't do it.
Right, right. And
So it's
But let's
Cody and
just
Seth and Jay Usos. They're trying to get him there. They're trying to get Sammy there, but they're not. They
hmm
are just not where Seth and Cody are right now.
true.
well, shout out to Randy Orton, man. Look at the. I mean, he hit the weights when he came back looking
Yeah,
like $1 million.
Well, I'm going to
yeah,
tell you the
he did.
surgeries that he had double spinal fusion surgery. I am shocked that he even came back when he did, and I'm shocked that he is in the physical condition that he's in. And absolute kudos to him because he looked amazing. He looked ready to go. He looked 10 years younger than last time I saw him.
He did. He
He's
did.
amazing.
Oh God, yes, he is.
And
He
it's
is
like just go ahead and
absolutely.
put him in the Hall of Fame next year. Just might as well just go ahead and do it.
And to answer your question about who would be that face is if you had Cody Rhodes completely destroy LA Knight.
Mm, that could definitely work. I mean, I could see that. Like you said, LA
Hmm.
Knight, he's definitely a good fan favorite. I want to tell, I think it was Brandon, or could have been Matt. Somebody asked me if I was um Arn or Tully or Arn and Oli. I
Hey,
said,
I
there we
marked it.
go.
I was going to
Thank
get
you.
back to it when we got through.
Well,
We
I
weren't
was
going to
sitting
allow.
here. No, no, I know. Well, I was trying to look for a piece of paper I was going to write.
I,
Um,
I I put a star on the comment.
I was just going to say I'm too young, believe it or not, to know much about Arn and Oli. So I'm definitely Arn and Tully all the way.
What about Arn and
However,
Bobby or Arn and Jerry?
Arn and Tully are going to be like my one and two right there. And yes, I am wearing a Brainbusters t-shirt. Uh, I I but I do include if I talk about the four horsemen, it is Rick, Arn, Ole, and Tully. So I mean, like those are the originals. So I am a fan of Ole, but I prefer Arn and Tully. So sorry, I just a little side note. I wanted to make sure I got that because I thought I saw his name again. So that's it. No,
I like that you made a note to answer that, but I wanted to make sure we circled back around to
you're
it.
very. I want to know too, Pondwater. I know that you were just real quick. Sunny got sentenced, and I know that you were had some words that you wanted to say about it, or did you had some comments that you wanted to say about it?
Yeah, they're not going to be good though. I mean, I'm I
I
don't like
think
drunk. I got no
I
use.
know, I know. Go ahead. I'm
Well,
sorry.
there's a difference between messing up one time
Right.
and messing up repeatedly. And my uncle was killed by a drunk driver,
Mm,
and his name was James McNatt Jr.
mm-hmm.
And James McNatt Jr. had a accident at a drag strip and should not, because of his brain injury, should not have even been drinking alcohol. And his license had been suspended, so he shouldn't have been behind the wheel of a car. But his father, James McNatt Sr., the Jim McNatt Auto Group, if you're in North Texas, you've heard of them, put his son in a car with no registration. So he loaded the gun,
Mm,
and his son got drunk and hit my uncle, and my uncle died at 42 years old. Um, and I've always, and it probably did me a favor because I don't drive drunk. If I drink a beer, somebody else is driving. Uh, but I can hate that guy as long as I don't put myself in that position. And so it's always been, I don't got, and I mean, there's people that'll tell you that it's an illness, and yeah, well, the victim doesn't get I don't want to hear about the sympathy for the 2-time loser, 3-time loser, because the victim doesn't get that kind of sympathy. And apparently the price of a 72-year-old man's life is 17 years, which is a joke for a 3-time fucking loser. I don't care how that she used to be the prettiest, and she had the world by the balls. She had the looks, she had the talent, she was charismatic. She could be on commentary, but she couldn't stay clean.
Mm-hmm.
And I just having a hard time with, somebody's peepaw wasn't at Thanksgiving this year and won't be at Christmas. And, she's trying to talk about she needs to be back out in society. No, you need to be locked up, bitch, before you kill again. And if that makes me cold hearted or whatever, I don't care. I've got no sympathy for her anymore. And if she wants some sympathy, she can go to the prison library and look it up. It's tucked somewhere between shit and syphilis.
I knew that was coming.
And
Now,
I mean, it just makes my blood boil.
I was going to
And
say,
I don't care how great she was walking the Smoking Guns to the ring or the Road Warriors 2000.
Yep.
Or, I mean, read her book. She brags about being a complete piece of shit to Chris Candido, who loved her unconditionally. That's a lot of love.
mm-hmm.
And I liked Sonny. I got a picture with Sonny. But don't kill somebody and then try to babyface it off and that you've done enough time. And no, 600 days in jail, you don't belong back in society. You should have been back out this time. Whatever your issues are.
True. Yeah.
I completely agree with you on everything you said. I actually, and I hate to say this, but, there's a reason that in PTW they call me Mean Mark Dodd, and it's not because I'm mean. It's because when you ask me something, I'm going to give you the true meaning of what I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And in this situation, I agree wholeheartedly with you. She don't need to be around people. She don't need to be driving ever again. She don't need to be in society again. I lost my little cousin, 21-year-old, a few months ago, not to a drunk driver, just to someone who drove recklessly, who ran him over. He was on a motorcycle, and she just cut across the lanes and took him out. No reason to drive that way, just was in a hurry for no reason. And I'm one that believes if you're driving, you got a driver's license to get behind the wheel of a car, you have more responsibility than in any other point in life, because other people's lives are in your hands.
Mm-hmm.
And drinking just proves you don't have any responsibility. And if you get in there and drive recklessly without drinking, it makes it even worse, in my opinion,
mm-hmm.
because you're making a choice to drive like an idiot. And 21-year-old who left a 10-month-old behind, whose mother had already ran off and abandoned them. And he was taking on full responsibility for her, and was absolutely a wonderful person. Was going to be a great man growing up. But in that situation, with what you're talking about, Dave, it's ridiculous that somebody like her has been given so many chances and just throw it away again. Mm-hmm. And this time it happened to cost somebody their life.
And she was still living a charmed life.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not going to crap on anybody that's making a living on OnlyFans. I mean, trust me.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Never mind.
trust me, if there was a market for old men,
De-
I'd rather. I mean, because trust me, having to go and drive a truck every day and sling potato chips when I could just be pretty on a camera. So I'm not crapping on that hustle at all. But let's face it, she ain't what she used to be. But you got people paying her hundreds of thousands of dollars to show that old worn out catcher's mitt. You can afford to call an Uber.
so I just want to say this. First off, definitely, Mark. Sorry for. I mean, that's just beyond tragic, and I absolutely hate to hear that. That's happened to your family.
I do too. That's
Would not have brought this up if I would have known that. I don't. Like I said, I'm sorry about
No,
that.
no, it's okay.
I don't want to.
I'll be honest with you. I'm happy to talk about stuff
Yeah.
because I want people to know. That's
Right.
the way I am. Again, I'm called Mean Mark Dodd in PTW because I will speak my mind. Now, you ask me a question, you're going to get truly my opinion on it,
Right.
whether you want to hear it or not.
Right.
And I'm that way. Now, I'm not one to force opinion on people and bring stuff up, but I am going to speak my mind and tell you what I honestly think always. That's just how I am. And, it's a terrible situation. I want to thank everybody. I see the comments. I appreciate that. But, there's so much in this world right now. And the biggest problem I see with everything that's going on is just personal responsibility is not being taken by a majority of society.
Mm-hmm.
If people just start taking personal responsibility for the things they do and the decisions they make, this world will be a much better place.
Right. Well, that all started when we started giving trophies to everybody.
Yeah.
Everything was even Steven. I do want to say this. You don't drink like that because, like, you're trying to fill a hole. Now, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a psychiatrist. I do play one on the Talking Wrestling with Pondwater Dave show. But you don't you don't drink like that. A normal person, a normal functioning person does not
mm,
do that to themselves. They are trying to fill a hole, and they at that, they have chosen Sunny has chosen alcohol for whatever reason. I'm not condoning obviously her reckless behavior, but there is definitely a lot of hurt.
mm-hmm.
She doesn't seem to have a support system. Granted, some of that could be on her own, things she's done to herself, but she is trying to fill a void, and she is just really, I mean, that's the same thing with drugs. Like,
Yep.
again, normal people don't do drugs. People that are hurting and they're trying to fill a void, they're the
Mm-hmm.
ones who do drugs. So it's just all the way around. I mean, her boyfriend that she has now is a total, you know, he's not really her boyfriend. She gets the OnlyFans, it just, like I said, you're right, Dave. You look at her back in the day, most downloaded photo, she had the world. And for whatever reason, and it might have been, the way she treated Chris Candido, maybe it finally caught up with her. I mean, maybe she's trying to, you know, uh, take that out of her heart. I don't know, but she, like you said, it's just an absolute travesty how she has fallen, and the fact, again, and that goes for a lot of people. How many people do we
well.
know that have
I'm
like
sympath-
4 DUIs, and you're just like, how the hell do you still drive? I
Yeah.
mean, that's not just even her. That's our system for some reason.
Well,
Our,
and
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying is, and I don't want to come off that I'm not unsympathetic to people that have
oh no,
substance abuse
I didn't mean
problems,
it like that.
but
No.
I'm just saying that once somebody's been killed for it,
No, I agree. I mean,
the victims are reduced to my uncle's killer got 4 years.
4?
Four. That's before mothers got mad.
Is that
Four
because of
years.
who the dad was? Like,
Oh, it
basically,
had a lot to do with it.
I mean,
And the fact that he got out on parole, and the fact that he got out on parole, and the family wasn't notified to even be there to try to keep him from getting out early.
see,
But
that's a
four,
bunch.
but
Yeah.
4 years.
Mhm.
And so, but yeah, once lives are lost, then that's. And I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable, Mark.
No, no, you didn't. Absolutely
I,
not.
I was, I might have closed the show with that. I never want to make a guest because I appreciate your time coming on here. You've been with us for 2 hours tonight. I can't thank you enough.
Hey, I can go all
We
night.
need to say something cheerful. Let's say something. We got to talk about something fun. Oh,
Well, first
did
off,
I
first off,
show
I
you
do
my
want to
new
say,
hat?
oh, that
No.
is sharp. I like that. Talking about women's wrestling
Yes.
from Survivor Series. I want to point this out. You brought up Charlotte Flair, Dave. I've got to say this. Rhea Ripley, in my opinion, is heads and tails the best female wrestler in the world today. You can put her in the ring with anybody, male, female, to do a promo, whatever she's doing. Right now, what she's doing with Judgment Day, with the wrestling, with the promos, with the talking, everything she's doing, she is amazing and is absolutely the number one female in wrestling today, bar none, and it's not even close in my
I
opinion.
100% agree with you, and she's gonna just get better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She's
Was she
not even to
24?
her prime yet. Yes.
Yeah. She's not even,
Yes.
what's she like, 26, 27? She's
I
Hmm.
not,
mean,
I don't think,
charisma, talent. I mean, she's the total package,
And I'm
and
going to tell
she
you, at Raw last night, I am so interested to see where they go with
hmm
Rhea and Randy, to see the interaction from them moving forward. And I know Dom's going to be in, the rest of Judgment Day will be thrown in. But honestly, it's Rhea and Randy. That's all I
right.
care about. What's going
she
to happen with them?
I even
It,
yes,
liked Rhea and
Drew.
Drew. Thank you. I
mm-hmm.
mean, like you said, she is very believable in the ring when she's getting in there. It's not like, Stacy Keebler coming out there to talk to one
No,
of the guys. It is Rhea, and you know that like they're not going to try to throw hands because she will fight back. I mean, she
yeah,
is very believable as someone who could go toe to toe with Randy, or if he
And
tried
and
something.
it's funny you say that because I've always said that I would like to see Charlotte Flair wrestle Randy Orton, and I
Mhm.
don't like intergender wrestling, but
Right.
I
mm-hmm.
think I think that they could put together a believable match.
Maybe,
I'd
yeah,
I would not be opposed to seeing Rhea Ripley actually get physical with Randy Orton.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I definitely.
I have to say, I've never been a fan of Charlotte's in ring work,
Mhm.
and I know it's
Really,
been good, but I think it's got more to do with who she's been wrestling against. Because I think Charlotte is actually careful with all the other ladies
Mhm.
because she could be so much more physical. Now, I'll tell you, my
well,
favorite women's match is of all time was one that was on Raw, and it was Rhea Ripley versus Natty Neidhart.
Mm.
I thought they put on a banger of a match a few months ago, and in my opinion, it should be a 5-star and match of the year for the females. I
if
mean,
if
because that was amazing in my
if they
opinion.
don't send Jade Cargill to the ring with Natty her first go on the
Yeah,
main roster, they're doing her a disservice because
I
Natty can make Jade look like $1 million.
I don't think you're going to see Jade anytime soon.
No.
I think they put her out there. Hey, she's here. And Triple H said this the other night on the Scrum after Survivor Series that yeah, we just wanted to let everybody know she's here. But I don't think you're going to see her for any time soon. Maybe see her at the Rumble, maybe as a
Mm.
surprise entrant because you really don't have to do anything in that.
Right.
But why put her in there if she's going to get thrown out? Because you're not going to have her win. I wouldn't think. So I don't even think
No,
you'll see her then. I think it could be a while before we see her in the ring. Because honestly, I mean, unless she's doing a squash match, her matches never have been very good.
Right. And there are some
well,
very
they should have all been. They left her out. I've always said that in AWA they put her out there and they tried to make her have competitive matches.
Yeah.
She should have been squashing left and right like Goldberg.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
They fumbled with her. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Well,
Well, in the
and
matches that should have been competitive, they left them too short. People that could actually make her look
somebody,
good.
yeah,
And some of them went short and they weren't believable. Or fans were disappointed. Then let's say it that
right,
way with
right.
but
what happened. But
And the caliber of women in WWE, you know, she is they can definitely help her, but she's
Hmm.
going to have to come to the ring ready. And so, like
Yeah,
you said, I definitely could see maybe not so much anytime soon because there are a plethora of women. And I kind of like that, I never really thought about it, but Mark, about you saying about how maybe Charlotte is a little bit more careful, especially with some of the not smaller, but she's a tall
but they
lady,
are.
and
They're
and she,
small. Becky Lynch is much smaller than Charlotte.
right, and
So,
Go back and watch Charlotte wrestle Bianca Belair in NXT
hmm
when Charlotte Bianca had wrestled her, and that match was a good match,
yeah,
but Charlotte exposed Bianca how big green
hmm
Bianca still was.
mhm,
You found out
yep,
Bianca was really great, but you found out just how much further she needed to go because she was really exposed in that match. As good as a match as it was,
right.
and Bianca Belair's, I mean, she's incredible now.
right.
So I think that may be part of it there, Mark. That
Yeah,
I
Didn't
get what you're saying. And how
Yeah.
about this? Come January 1st, Camille is a free agent.
Oh,
oh, interesting.
really? Didn't
She gave notice she's leaving. I mean, NWA, it's not an ugly part.
Yeah,
Right.
They'd
She's
like to
moved
keep
on.
using her, but I can see her in the WWE system. They may have to swim her through NXT to get her ready for television.
yeah. I think she would be better in WWE than AEW for sure. I
Oh
think
Yeah.
yeah.
she's more of a fit for WWE, and she's
But do
got
you
the
think
size and the look.
but do you think Tony Khan goes at her hard and heavy to try to counteract losing Jade?
I don't
Because
know.
where she
I
should
don't think
go and where
so.
how many zeros are on her check may make a big difference.
I think AEW, I think what you're going to see with them is going more Japanese style. So you're
Mhm.
going to see more of the athletic. Um,
Joshi,
You make
whatever.
a good
yeah,
point there.
I think you're going to see that style. Tony Khan is a huge fan of New Japan wrestling and the
Mhm.
Japanese style of wrestling. And it got brought up today with QT Marshall leaving AEW that part of the reason he was leaving was the direction of
Mhm.
AEW, and a lot of comments were it's because Tony's such a fan and he's trying to take their style toward New Japan, and I
Mhm.
think it's going to show more in the women than anything else because you just don't have enough women the size of Jade Cargill, Charlotte Flair, Bianca, um, Rhea.
Rhea.
There's just not enough of them in the wrestling world right now.
Mhm.
And you could bring Camille in, but it's just another Jade Cargill over again. Maybe not quite to that point of, hey, it's a green wrestler that we have to train from ground
Well,
up.
she has been regularly going to
Hmm.
Mexico,
Right?
Well,
Yeah,
do
so
you
she has worked in the lucha style.
right,
yeah,
but
and maybe it would work. I just don't know. I just feel like with her look that she fits with WWE
Oh
better.
yeah, definitely.
I
Hmm.
think she may fit, but do you think WWE feels that she would be worth going after as
I don't
much
think they
money
need her.
as that's what I was gonna say. I think AEW is gonna throw more money at her.
But they don't need Punk right now.
I'll tell you who I think would go after her more than anybody is going to be TNA.
Mm.
I think that's where she goes and can make the most impact for her career.
And
That
who's Camille married to? Josh?
Thomas.
Oh, Tom,
yeah.
darn. Tom.
Um,
Tom,
NWA wrestler. I can't think of his name.
His last name's escaping me. And
What
Hmm.
is Tom's I know.
Thomas Lattimore.
Oh,
Yep,
that's
that's
right,
it.
Thomas
that's
That's
right.
it.
Lattimore.
So
Yep.
that'll be interesting. Is his contract up too? I'm just curious. Do you
It
know?
didn't
Yeah.
say him. It
It
just
just
said
said
No.
her.
Camille. I just wondered. I
And
mean, I know
he
there's
is.
plenty of
I
women
like
that
I like his wrestling, but he's definitely not going to go to WWE or AEW.
And
right.
Now,
Nick Aldis is on SmackDown. So
yep,
and he's a huge fan of Camille.
that is true. So he may put in the good word. You never know. But I think Camille, again, it's going to be one of those. If she goes WWE, she's heading straight to NXT before anything.
Right.
And
So she's going to be.
she probably needs it to learn the WWE
Oh yeah,
style because it's a lot different than the NWA studio wrestling style.
I agree.
Sure.
I agree. And you may. I mean, maybe you bring her in, and there's Jade's first feud. Is Camille and Jade. You let them work behind the scenes and work
And then
each other out, and then they can step into a match at some point. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I like Camille as a wrestler. I think she's done a lot of good work in NWA. So it'll be interesting to see where she goes next.
Yeah, she was very much improved from when she started to where she finished.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, world of difference. And I have to say this.
Yes, Brandon.
Yep. With Primetime Wrestling, we're trying to build a ladies division too. We've got the Island Girl Tracy Taylor comes in regularly. She was on Tough Enough with WWE at one time and been part of the NXT program before. She's been in Ohio Valley Wrestling. And she missed our last show because I know this was terrible for her, but she was in Hawaii with their promotion out there, and I think she won their championship out in Hawaii. So,
cool.
But Tracy Taylor's there, and we have some others that we've been bringing in, Gemma Jules, and we brought in Katie from Ohio Valley Wrestling came in for our last show as well. So we are wanting to do a very good women's division as well, and that's something we're going to.
Well, y'all should try to get Promise Braxton in before she gets tied up and can't tour the Indies. I think she's going to be a huge star, and and I also like to recommend Emmy Camacho, the current BIW Women's Champion, part of the Camacho clan.
Okay.
I think Primetime
Wrestling. Get Angel and Emmy and they can ride together.
I think Primetime Wrestling is going to make a bid for Camille. I think that's their plan. Build that division. I mean, you never know unless you ask.
No, you never know. Absolutely.
Hey, she's wrestled here in Mississippi for Battle Zone, so she does tour the Indies.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, who knows? We might be able to get her in before one of the big ones snag her up. You never know.
Right. She may want to do some, get out there and, see what's all out there. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well, one more time before we get you out of here, Mark, let's remind everybody that January 13th at the, how do you say that? Coosa Valley?
Coosa Valley Fairgrounds. It's the home of our Coosa Valley Fair every year. And that is our home for Primetime Wrestling for 2024. We've actually mapped out, if you go to our Facebook page, you'll see all of our shows scheduled up and through, I think in April or May even, that we've got shows scheduled through there. We're going to have some great shows, but that one being the North Georgia Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame show.
Awesome.
So we're going to have some inductees. We've named 2. Scott Hudson, legendary announcer. Our current general manager will be there and be inducted in the Hall of Fame, along with Dave's partial to this referee, Chris Spanky Vick, will be inducted this year. And I believe we'll probably have a couple more announcements leading up to the show of inductees as well. So it's going to be a big show. Going to be a lot of fun. We've got, just to talk about Primetime real quick, I would say we're a combination of old school meeting attitude era. We don't go to just one specific type of wrestling either. We bring in big guys, little guys, bring the ladies in. We want ground wrestlers. We want the high flyers. We want a mix. We don't want to just have the same match every time. So like I said, we had Big Trouble Ben Bishop, the 7-footer, come in. We've got Big Andy, who's 6'5" and 400 pounds. We had him wrestle in the tournament for the title, and he wrestled somebody bigger than him. We had to reinforce the ring, and he came out with a win. But we've got guys like Adam Jacobs who can run around and fly and wrestle anybody. And I'm going to tell you, remember the name of Tyrese Murphy. He's a young, I think he's 24, athletic, unbelievably athletic. He's got the look. He's got the skill. He's green, but he's down in Ecuador right now, and he's already won their championship. He's traveled in Mexico even at a young age, but he is going to be a top star in wrestling down the road. And we've got veterans, we've got young guys, and we've got some very good-minded people in the back that's really going to take care of the company the way it should be. And so I really hope we're going to be one of those things that everybody will tune in and check out, because I think we're going to be doing some good things down the line.
Well,
It sounds like it, and I'm going to be pulling. I'm going to be pulling for Atlanta too, because
he
because everybody else you mentioned did not come into the chat on Talking Wrestling with Pondwater Dave,
that's
and I'm
true.
loyal to a T. So you keep crushing them, champ.
The champ is unbelievable. He is a monster, and whoever takes the belt, I don't know if anybody will take the belt off of him. He might be the first original champ to retire with the belt. I mean, he's that much of a monster. Of course, with Mr. Atlanta standing behind him and coming up with things, it's always a 2-on-1, so you just never know. But as if he needs help. But the Fulton County Frankenstein, he is a monster. I will tell you that. He's a big man.
He's Pondwater approved, that's for sure.
We've got an interesting storyline going on. Dave and Amy, y'all appreciate this. So I don't know why, but I'm going to have to get into it and investigate it more. So you'll probably see some videos coming out about it. But I've got to find out. For some reason, Mr. Atlanta 2 will carry around his belt. He won't let anybody touch it except for Adam Jacobs. He'll let Adam Jacobs touch his belt, but Adam's partner, David Young, is becoming obsessed with touching that belt, and Mr. Atlanta 2 will not let him. And so I've seen the interactions. It's from a distance, it's quite amusing, but I'm going to have to look more into it because there's something to it. I just don't know what it is. But as Amy, Adam Jacobs, he is just digging into David Young, his partner, and just driving him crazy about it. So we'll have to see if that drives a wedge between the tag team partners.
Yeah, interesting. Keep us posted on that one.
Yeah, definitely will.
Do you have any social media that you want to give a shout out on, Mark?
Well, we've got our Primetime Wrestling Facebook page. You can find all our information there. We have our website, primetime-wrestling.com.
Gotcha.
And so all the social media is on there. We really focus on our Facebook page. We will be building our YouTube page up more. That's where we're posting the events that we record, our shows and everything. We're going to be expanding social media. We do have a media manager now that we just brought in. That's going to be helping with everything. I'm going to be doing, I have a Twitch channel that I haven't done anything with, but it's Primetime Wrestling TV on Twitch that I will be doing more live streams and things with and showing our previous shows and all and having some fun with it and building that up. I'll probably get on there and game some too, so never know. But we got a lot of good things planned in 2024, and we've even discussed possibly maybe there's a pay-per-view in the future. You never know.
Cool.
So we'll see. We'll see what comes up and how things go.
And not that I'm trying to get people to quit listening to me, but where can they find your Primetime podcast?
Well, it'll be on our Facebook page. We'll show them there. Also on our YouTube page.
Can it be traditionally downloaded like on Apple or Spotify?
Yes, I believe it's on Spotify is where we've been putting it. I have to admit, Shawn was kind of the one doing a lot of that behind the scenes. And so now we're having to get that worked out since Shawn Ambrose was fired.
That's
so
right.
So the new media manager is coming in at the right time. Maybe she can help with that. I have not had a chance to sit down and talk with her with the holidays and everything. So we'll probably be sitting down and discuss what we're going to do in 2024 with everything. We're not doing a December show. We were planning on one, but with the chaos that's happened with Shawn, we kind of felt it better not to. And we had a lot of people wanting to do holidays with families, and so we are very cognizant of our talent spending time with family. We want them to, and we want the fans to do it as well. And so when we come back, we're going to go full bore in January and start with our Hall of Fame show and going twice a month and maybe more. You never know. We'll see how things go. It's an exciting time.
It sounds like it. Again, we can't thank you enough for coming on our show tonight. We've had a great time talking. We could probably talk for 2 or 3 more hours.
Oh yeah,
I'm having a blast. And you're welcome to come back anytime. If y'all got something going on you want to plug, you're always welcome.
Well, I would love it. I really appreciate y'all having me on. I know I was the backup to come in, but y'all have a great show. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I could stay here and talk all night. But yeah, we've gone for quite a while. So
yeah, I know. I'm thinking. I try not to keep the guests more than 45 minutes because I respect your time, and now we got you 2 hours and 15. So,
And I think me and Pondwater both are like, I'm getting tired. I need to go to bed. I got to get up early. But I will say this, if you're like Mark and you think this was a great show, please go over to the Talking Wrestling with Pondwater Dave YouTube channel, subscribe, give us a 5-star review, listen to us wherever you can. You know, we love our fans, we treat you well, and we
click the
have great
share button.
hit the share button, share us, share. We have
Hook
great
your boy
guests
up.
just like but we have great guests like Mark coming on with us. Like I said, December is chock full of Iron Claw everywhere. We might, hey, do you think Lance, is he going to come back on with us and talk WCCW? Maybe.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have Lance on. We're gonna have Lance on after the movie premieres.
Oh, that'll be so much fun.
Next week, Cassidy Riley.
Yep.
Week after, we got legend David Manning. This week, December the 1st in McGee, Mississippi. Oh,
Looky
thank
here,
you.
you got
Awesome.
someone going to the show.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome.
Willie Buck reminded me I will be in McGee, Mississippi this Friday night for Lost Art of Wrestling.
Cool.
Angel Camacho is going to be there. Vladimir Koloff's going to be there. Ray Fury's going to be there.
And don't forget, at 300 subscribers, which we're not that far away, our YouTube subscribers, Vladimir is going to cannonball Pondwater. So I'd like to see that. And I know you all would too. I think it'll be very enjoyable. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'm sorry.
And Mr. Atlanta 2 is going to powerbomb Justin since he's not here to say
Lost Art of
Exactly.
Wrestling is watching. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Awesome.
I can't wait to get down there and work with these guys. I've worked with them before I retired. So I was glad to get the call and get back down there because they always put on a great event and family friendly wrestling. It's going to be in a church. You can bring the kids and feel good about it. They won't hear all the potty mouth stuff that you heard from me earlier. Now I feel kind of about halfway ashamed that I didn't choose my words better, but it is what it is. For Amy Vaughn, the First Lady of the Arn Anderson Fan Club, for Mr. Mark Dodd, the voice of Primetime Wrestling, I'm Pondwater Dave. Thank you for joining us tonight. Have a blessed evening. And Mark, happy holidays to you and yours.
I'll end this show the way I end all of mine. Ladies and gentlemen, don't miss it. Be there.